to be fair. Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name is David Turner. I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
Sean Bell.
Hello.
No Matt Murray this week, but we are delighted that after 327 shows, I think, if my maths is correct.
Wow.
We have a returning guest in Chris Bratt.
Oh
I can't believe it. You're here. You're actually here.
Well, please do invite me back in another 327 episodes time. I feel like that's a good sort of rhythm to hit.
Although, I must say, my son thought we had a completely different guest on the show this week when he overlooked me DMing Chris on Twitter and went, "You've got Star-Lord coming on the show," and that was no Harry, that's Chris Pratt. This is someone different, but no, I'm happier. I wouldn't have him on anyway, Sean.
I was going to say, I feel like
I think he's somewhat problematic these days.
Yeah,
or he's really.
People say.
I know he's really into hunting. I think that's the thing.
Oh, is he?
Like, I've never hunted an animal in my life.
Yet.
I can promise you that.
As the apocalypse comes, mate, we're all going to have to make some decisions we're not going to be happy with. All right.
Well, before we quiz our guest, we better say a big thank you to our Patreon producers this month. The Full Nels crew, Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap, Simon Nelson, Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Trans Rights to Human Rights, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gazman, Rocketman76, Grey Dragon Claw, Fred Fenge, Smooth Monkey, Don Whiskerando, Colin Smith, Richard Sawyer, John Tempelli, Jackie Sniper, Gordon Garrow, Safe As Records, Sam Higton, Max Watkins, Laser Quest, Freelance Police, Steve Garrett, the Slow Kindle Bloke, and thanks for the calls. They are the Full Nels crew, and we thank every single one of them. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/TCGS, and there's no more Marvel calls. Marvel calls is done and dusted. James,
we need to stop.
What are you doing with your time?
We need to stop drawing attention to that because the value proposition of the Patreon has gone down since you stopped.
Well, did we ever raise it? Do you think anyone actually subbed for Marvel calls to hear me moan about
No, but it was a nice cheeky bonus, wasn't it?
It was a cheeky bonus, and we've taken that cheeky bonus away, and now it's time for Sean to announce what podcast series he's doing every week to bring that bonus back to you. Sean, what are you doing?
Am I watching Fast and Furious films? Is that happening finally?
You're not going to be podcasting about it. You're
just watching that. Going to watch
it. James, you've watched Quantum Mania, right? Any good?
Yeah, it's all right.
I saw that. We don't need to do an episode.
That's all you need. Yeah,
we don't need to do. I will say though, thank you so much to everyone that sent us messages this week saying they really enjoyed the series. Honestly, I've read most of them out to Harry, not the nasty ones. I read the nice ones out to Harry, and he was absolutely buzzing. So thank you so much for everyone that got in touch. We really appreciate it. And who knows what the future holds for the Cool series? Don't think we're doing any more. But forget all that. Forget all that because we got Chris Bratt here. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. Big fan of your work. Ever since video, I mean, we talk about it pre-show slightly, but I mean, the video gamer years, and when was the last time you were heavily involved in a gaming's opinion podcast? It's been a while since I've heard your one. Yeah, that's what we're category, isn't it? Is that our category?
Gaming's opinion.
Yeah, that's what you're on, Twitch. I feel like not since pretty much I started People Make Games to get away from having to ever have an opinion about how good or bad a video game is. I just I don't know, man. They all seem pretty good to me now. I cop out on it. Like,
really? 12 minutes? You played that last year, did you? Fair annoying, isn't it? Come on, we're gonna get it out of you tonight.
Yeah, no,
this is it.
We'll try.
How's it going at People Make Games? Because I've been watching, and if for any reason anyone listening doesn't know People Make Games, then definitely where's the best place to send them, Chris?
I guess the YouTube channel is the main thing that we do, which is youtube.com/peopleMakeGames. We're like I don't always know how to describe it, but a sort of investigative reporting channel that focuses on the games industry, and we kind of go a bit all over the place with that. More recently, I think we've been known for I don't know, some stories that, like things that I guess walk a little bit more into like an expose or like a more hard hitting investigation. I promise that's not the only thing we do. We're not always that depressing. I feel like whenever we like put out a new video at the moment, it carries a sort of like this will ruin your day in only half an hour sort of label attached to it.
I see. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, I think when it comes to reviewing your own work or sort of trying to get your own tone or understand your own tone, I think it's really hard to do as someone that's putting it together, because you kind of get lost in the story. Because that is certainly not the feeling I got. I you know, today I watched the look at how Valve runs as a company, and it didn't. You know, obviously it had some moments where you're like, that's weird, but you didn't come away depressed from it. And I remember, you did the one about the escape rooms, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I massively recommend that one. That's a really good episode to watch.
Yeah, we were really lucky to go behind the scenes at like a really amazing Brighton escape room, which is quite a nice thing for them, the people running that, to even let us do, because it basically meant we spoiled the whole thing.
I was going to say, because
to an extent.
I fucking love escape rooms, and they're normally really funny about like any photography, video, or anything, aren't they? Because obviously, once a room is spoiled, it's quite expensive to design and put together a new one, right? So it's
So that company runs like a bunch of different ones. Like I think they have maybe 5 or 6 in Brighton. So I guess they were taking the hit on getting one of them spoiled in the hopes that maybe like, if people in the area, they'll go and check out with the others. But yeah, no, that's right. You're totally right about it's hard to describe your own work. And I think I'm also coming off the back of just the latest Valve piece we did, which was a look behind the scenes at how that company runs. I don't know how familiar you all are with like the hierarchy or the lack of hierarchy there, but yeah. So no one's meant to have a job title. There are no managers. It's like meant to be a very freeform place, and we spoke to like a ton of people who work there or who have worked there about the reality of it and the fact that there is a hierarchy. It's just different to other companies. However, because we also touch on like the company's lack of diversity, and we talk a little bit about some decisions it made around Black Lives Matter. We got hit with so much like Gamergate level crap that I think my head is in a weird place with work since then. Right. Yeah, I think I said just before the show that I'm feeling a bit burnt out with it. We were really worried that we'd put that video out and someone would say like, you've got something wrong, and that's always my worry with work. And that didn't happen, but instead we just got like hundreds of comments about like race and diversity and wokeism and that kind of stuff. And so
but at least like they're
crawling back out of that now.
They're people that you already knew you disagreed with, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think I was a little surprised to we're not like, because People Make Games sort of started from scratch and built up its own audience, and its politics are usually pretty upfront. We don't get hit with that stuff as much as like when I used to work at Eurogamer, and there's more baggage there. So that was a little new to me. It had been a few years since like we'd been in the eye of the storm. Wait, no, the eye of the storm.
And there's like a barrier of separation at Eurogamer as well, right? Because there's you're working for that site, and that site is. That's where all the comments are going towards. Whereas, like, when it's your thing, I think it's... Because we've been saying recently that it feels like we've just tipped over the edge. I would say probably about a year ago, we just tipped over the edge to the point where we are now getting daily abuse, like, sent to us. And I've been okay with it because, I think when I was doing Joypod, towards the end of Joypod, I was getting absolutely hammered, and it was getting to the point where it was like, right, I need to sort of separate myself and just look at it as text and just completely dehumanize anything behind it. And I think I've dealt, but there are still like the old comments where you look at it and just go, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean? And obviously it's not to the level that you're getting on the videos that you get.
We do get that. There's I think I've told this anecdote a bunch of times, but whenever one of our videos gets picked up by the YouTube algorithm, which is like the difference between a video doing like okay views and like really good views for us is like if the YouTube homepage is presenting it to people, the sort of canary in the coal mine for that happening is we start getting comments about how far my eyes are apart and like
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
like, so yeah, there's like they're always kind of the same, but like people like it's just this recurring
Such
thing.
a weird thing to say.
Yeah, but like, and so like weirdly, that one in particular now has very like positive connotations for me. If I see that, I'm like, oh, fucking get in. This is gonna be some traffic on this video. Like it was,
Right.
it was worth it. So yeah, it is strange. I don't know how that works with like what you guys do in the same way in terms of how those people are finding you. But it's strange when it gets out of that bubble.
Yeah, like what always fascinates me is like I say, a lot of the bad stuff we get, you can kind of write it off because it's people that we know we're going to upset, right? And we've already made peace with that. One that I always remember because it stuck out to me was it was in the iTunes reviews, and someone was like, "Oh, I've listened to this show for ages, but like really disappointed this week to find out that they're all misogynists." And I was like, "Oh shit! Like, what did we do? Like, have we fucked up? Like, have we?" And then I went back and listened to the episode. It's like, "Oh no, in that episode we voiced support for the trans community." It's like, okay, yeah. I'm now at peace with that person thinking I'm a misogynist. You know, quotes. Do you know what I mean?
Like that. And then we had those other people that said that we were all communists.
Yes,
which was that was a good one.
Yeah.
It's like do you know what's really funny? It's like when what was it? Rage Against the Machine put a statement out about something. I can't remember what it was, and a load of comments on it was like saying, "Oh yeah, I see they've turned woke. They've turned, anti, they've gone all communist and all this sort of stuff." And you go, "Oh, you never really listen to their music."
Yeah.
Pay attention,
Like, how are you only just working this out now? It's nuts. That's right. We are as important as Rage Against the Machine.
Yes.
I think we can all conclude that we're all.
Yep.
But yeah, no. I mean, other than how are you finding the direction you've gone now, though, compared to say when you were a video gamer, Eurogamer? Is it still? I know you're saying that like the abuse and the bad stuff hits harder, but do you find it a little bit more freeing to not, as you say, have opinions on video games every week in, week out? Like that must get tiring in its own.
So I guess we have like we do include our opinions in our work about the goings on in the games industry, I guess, like the stuff that we're reporting on. But I haven't reviewed a game in a really long time, and it was, I don't know, I found it was just like, it's kind of that weird thing of doing games journalism sometimes where like I specifically wanted to do like the reporting part of it, but because you end up wearing lots of different hats on those kinds of teams, like you end up needing to like, okay, you also go to like cover shows and you will like review like games within the genres that and you end up doing a bunch of different stuff. And I probably started with a bit of weird negativity then. I think I'm slightly depressed because of work recently. Where I actually meant to be was like, is in such a fortunate position. Like it is amazing that we get to, like, I only do reporting now, and that is genuinely a dream come true. So
right.
I should probably next time in 367 episodes when you invite me on again, let me lead with that.
Yeah. So are you do you find it is? Would you say it's getting harder to report on the industry now, or because the feeling I get is that like maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of these developers and publishers are starting to get white. When I was with Spong and the early days with Joypod, it felt like access was very easy, and it felt that people from companies that you were working with or talking to were saying stuff, it was a lot more casual, and they would be open and they would talk about things, and you go, even back then you were going, are you allowed to be saying this or what? But I get the feeling now that maybe it's a little bit, so is it harder to delve into these stories now? Are they getting more wise to the fact that actually the information out there needs to be controlled better?
That's a good question. I think yes and no, basically. I think whenever we speak to like a company as an entity, like we contact a PR department or speak to an executive, our access to that is really limited with People Make Games a lot of the time. People will just not do interviews, or if they do, it's very cagey. And I think a lot of that is to do with people's sort of media training is a lot more involved these days, and stuff can blow up really quickly, particularly like the role that social media plays in that kind of stuff. You do a say something dumb in an interview, and you can be the main character of video games for like a week. However, the other side of it is that like most of our work actually involves speaking to employees rather than employers or like companies. And I think there's been such a rise of people who work in the games industry understanding their own importance, like, and when they're being taken advantage of, and also like just that they have a complicated job that can involve things like crunch and ethics and all this stuff. Like your typical games industry employee, I think, is so much more like active in that kind of space. And so when we speak to employees off the record or on the record or anonymously or wherever it ends up being, those interviews I think are open all sorts of doors. And that's like the majority of what we do in our investigative work. We start like with the Valve piece, although we did eventually try to get a comment from Valve, which we didn't. We spoke to, I don't even know how many employees it was, but like, God, I can't actually remember, like 15, 20 people. And those people were really ready to talk. And so it's like, it depends on how you approach it, I suppose. Yeah, you go to the companies and I think you're right.
Yeah, and it's got to be hard to sort of look at, even when you're interviewing, like, where do you draw the line with, oh, you're a disgruntled employee or you're being... Because everyone views things differently.
Sure.
And what I like about People Makes Games is that you don't sort of... It never feels like you're saying, oh, this is our story, so we've handpicked the interviews that work with our story. It's always sort of presented quite evenly, and you're sort of left to make your own decision. But I highly recommend that. If you go to YouTube, go People Make Games, and I mean, the Valve one is, or if you're after something a little bit more lighthearted, the Royal We was another good video tracking down the Royal We, which sold at auction recently, right?
Yeah, the guy actually wanted to sell it for a lot of money. I don't.
$500,000, I think he was after. And
something crazy. Like I think
he got over $100,000 for it. Yeah.
I don't think did it go that high?
I didn't think so. I probably glanced at the story and went, all right, this is why I could never do what you do. I come on and go, well, the People Make Games. Probably for about $500,000. I don't know, I weren't paying attention. You all right? Yeah.
It sells for $36,000, which is actually like a significant amount of money. But
it's like a Wii with like peeling gold paint like coming off it. It's like
that was a the Too Long Didn't Watch version of that story is it was part of a sort of press stunt for a Wii game that I don't think fucking anyone played, called Big Family Games. And as part of that, the THQ wanted to drum up some press about it, and so decided to send a copy of it to the Queen of England along with a gold-plated. I don't even know. Is it gold-plated or just gold sprayed?
Spray painted.
Nintendo Wii, and they basically got a bunch of press coverage that the Queen had been gifted this one-of-a-kind item. In reality,
it was in the sun. I remember it being in the sun.
No
like
way.
It was I mean, you look at that and go, "Oh, you're a genius." I mean, it's a nonsense story, as you said on the video. It's a nonsense story. You can send anything to Buckingham Palace, like
which we did, and we to kind of find out what happened. Like what happens, we sent.
Right.
I sent a copy of season 1 and season 2 of Gavin and Stacey to the Queen.
That's right.
And I have a letter here, actually.
You got to reply.
They have to reply, don't they? It's
Do they?
the people on the
They're not
Twitch
like
stream,
MPs, are they?
So that is a letter with... Oh, that's my old address. Maybe I don't want to...
It's okay. I think it was overexposed. I think you're all right.
That's great. But yeah, we got a letter back from one of the Queen's handmaiden... Oh, no, ladies in waiting, which says, "Dear Chris, the Queen wishes me to thank you very much for your messages and the DVDs you so kindly sent for Christmas." And yeah, it was literally like two second-hand copies of Gavin and Stacey from CEX.
Amazing.
Please tell me that the price labels were still stuck on them as well.
On one of them it was. Yeah,
they must get some
CEX labeled.
CEX
stuff.
trading stickers.
We
used to get. Where was I? I was at a company where people used to send in stuff, and one guy used to send in the page 3 every day.
Wow.
You would get a letter, you'd open it up, and it'd just be the page 3 model from the day before.
Wow.
And it was like, why? Every day.
Just a little note on it, just in case you haven't seen it.
No.
No, nothing. Just
We're only assuming it was a guy, but it was.
Yep. It was a guy.
Pretty safe to assume that. Really, it's mad. But highly recommend those videos to go and check it out. That I often think of that. You know, when you get like a PR stunt like that, you think, oh my God, people are still talking about it. Like, it still made headlines that, all right, not in the Sun, but it still made headlines that this golden Wii had been sold at auction.
I like to imagine that whoever came up with that, like, it wasn't a spur of the moment thing. It was like when they started their career in PR, they're like, one day I'm going to have to sell a game that no one gives a shit about. That is when I'm going to be like, golden Wii.
Yeah.
Golden Wii, that's
it.
the one.
Keep it in the back pocket.
We know... Am I allowed to talk about it? We know someone that did a stunt that still gets referenced today because I saw it referenced when the Chuckle Brothers did the Hitman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We know someone that was involved in that.
Yeah,
and
we
you
do.
just think, that's another one.
Yep.
That's another one that keeps getting referenced years
Was that when they were controlling a real-life Hitman?
Hitman,
yeah. Chuckle Brothers were controlling the real-life Hitman.
That's a very, very good, I mean, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I actually think we were talking about how as the reporting got harder or easier, like access, weirdly, I think that kind of stuff gets a lot less coverage these days, even though the Golden Wii story, I think, people were interested in it because I think they became a little interested in where it ended up with this collector who would and his part in the story. But I feel like there's a real cynicism towards anything that's too like a brand trying to trick you into caring about something.
I think there's that.
Different.
But also in terms of the press and the way games are covered at the moment, it was something we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. But is it harder to launch a new game now? Like, is it harder? And when you look at what games are getting the coverage, especially in sort of more mainstream press, it really is the games as service games, because they know that they're going to bring in the clicks or whatever. They're not going to spend those pages, that time, that effort covering a new IP, for example. You know, it's not going to happen. It's fascinating the way the industry's going at the moment, but we're too thick to really delve into it, so we'll leave that.
So let's try and do that for 2 hours, regardless.
Should we get to the feedback from last week's show? Matt, aka Sean.
You always act surprised where every time one of us is off, I fill in, no matter who it is.
Okay, gotcha. Except for the socials, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I've never done the socials.
No,
hang on. I've done emails before.
All right.
No, I'm just saying. Whenever someone's off, I'm the sub.
All right. Okay.
Alex,
move aside, James.
Alex79.
They love it last week.
Yeah, I think so. They haven't really voiced an opinion either way. Alex79 says, hello there. I enjoyed listening to you tear my idea for a Marvel game apart on the last show, but I just wanted to clarify something that seemed to confuse Matt. I am indeed the listener formerly known as Alex79 UK, but I dropped the UK part a while back in light of the current cultural climate and didn't want people to think I was a patriotic flag shagger. Fair enough.
Okay.
It's like British Sea Power. Jesus Christ.
Do you think it's going to come back around again? Do you think there's going to be at some point where we're all like, no, actually, you know what?
Well, do you know what this reminded me of?
Go on.
Mark Brown Game Maker's Toolkit, also a very good YouTube channel. Not as good as yours, Chris. Don't worry about it.
I hate him. Don't you fucking mention that man's name.
Yeah, what fucking wrong? Kill him. Unsub him, if anything.
Yeah.
Go on.
I love the fact that for years his Twitter handle was just British Gaming.
Oh wow!
And there wasn't.
Really?
He did explain one day. There was like a reasoning behind it, and then he was like, "Yeah," and it just kind of stuck, and he just stuck with it for years. But after a bit, it's like a bit arrogant, Mark. You don't speak for me. You know?
Chris, I don't think I've ever asked you this. Do you remember your first nickname you gave yourself on the internet?
Oh god!
Oh no,
don't have to
no
say
one
it, but,
should ever have to answer that question.
Do you remember it?
So at this, well, I remember a number of them. But I remember this came up in our Discord the other day, but. The Bratters was like the first one that I started with, which is so cringeworthy. I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's not as bad as mine, mate. Sega Dude.
Nice.
No, that's better. That's way better. What are you talking about? I love that. That's fine.
Sega Dude and then Cockney Dave. No, I mean, I'm not even a Cockney. It doesn't work.
I mean, to my ears, you might as well. I'm fooled. So
I'm be getting away with it.
Sega loving Cockney.
Sega loving Cockney. James, what was yours again?
I don't know. What did I say? I think I did Jimmer. Jimmer was one of them.
Jimmer, I think was it. Yeah, wasn't it? Jimmer.
Rubbish.
We never called you Jim, James. Why don't we call you Jim?
Because it's not my name.
Jim Farley.
I know, but
Jim Farley sounds good.
good if it was.
Yeah.
Jimmy
I mean, actually, yeah, Jim. I mean, it does sound like a dependable kind of person.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Jim Farley.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like someone who's going to pickpocket you.
Really?
Jim Farley.
Harsh.
Yeah. He's. Sorry.
Jim,
Who took all of your money out of your account? Jim Farley. Of course he did. Don't trust Jim Farley. Don't let him have your card.
Yeah, but equally. Oh, you need a roofer. Oh, get Jim Farley on the blower.
That's true. Well, this is what I said to Joe. Like, I mean, naming a child is way more anxiety-inducing than you think it's ever gonna be, because it's like, no, that's that for the rest of their lives now. But I was adamant that I wanted my firstborn Harry to be called Hank, because you do not.
You can't laugh. You can't laugh at that, Sean. You can't.
You
You're not allowed to
don't.
laugh.
Well, I can because he didn't call him Hank.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
so it's fine.
You do not fuck with Hank Turner though. Like, you do not fuck with. What was it? My dad said he's either a cowboy or he's a country western singer. You know, it's one of the two. But if he's a country western singer, he's that guy in that video with that gets the guitar and beats the guy in the front row up with his guitar.
yeah.
Seen that one?
Yeah, Jeff
You
Jarrett.
watch such aggressive videos on the internet. I've gotta say.
It's just me algorithms, Chris. It's just me algorithms.
He watched
mate.
too
Don't blame
much
me.
people make games, and now look at him. He's just
Yeah, that's what happens to it. Yeah. No, there was that. So it's Hank and then Eric. I wanted Charlie to be called Eric because Harry
Turner.
come up with that name, and I thought that was quite good. Eric Turner. Don't buy a car off Eric Turner. Fucking hell's got no fucking engine
That'd be a
in
good
it.
stand-up comedian name, Eric Turner.
Did you struggle over your kid's name, Sean, or was it look bang straight in there?
No, yeah, I don't know. We decided like a while before we knew he was en route that we liked Isaac, so it just sort of stuck. Quite like, yeah, don't know. There's not an interesting story behind it, I'm afraid. Just liked it.
Sometimes it works
I
like
was
that.
going to go for that as well, actually.
I am.
Gonna go for what?
For Isaac as well.
yeah?
But then we didn't, because I told somebody else, not Sean,
That's all good.
about this name, and
Okay.
then they chose it for their son, and then I just
Whoa.
thought,
I remember you telling me this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be. Are you still
And then-
friends with this person?
I don't really talk to them very much anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Don't blame
That's
you.
the other thing that kills you as well. The excuses you get for not calling your kid, like, how about James? Oh no, I knew a James at school. He's a right little prick. You know what I mean? It's like, they're the sort
Not
of
Jim,
levels
though.
you get to.
Jim's great.
Oh yeah, sorry, I chose the wrong name there. Sorry, James. Next, Sean.
Next bit of feedback comes from none other than Mike Oldfield. It says in episode 338, Sean revealed that the piece of music in Pentiment was called In Dulci Jubilo, which was met with zero recognition from any of you. My 1976 recording of this classic tune is one of the all-time Christmas bangers, deservedly appearing on every one of the bewilderingly numerous Christmas compilation CDs. Perhaps you all need to revisit which well-known and beloved Christmas songs have passed you by. This is much worse than Step Into Christmas Gate.
Do you know, I'll be honest, when I heard it in the game, I did think, that's a Christmas song, that.
Yeah.
You know, when
I didn't know it. I didn't
Well,
I don't
hold
know.
on. Who's dark green in the chat and is clearly copying and
Who's
pasting it
highlighting
into?
I think that's Chris.
It's
anonymous platypus according to Google Docs.
I'm sorry, I'm on the Wikipedia page.
That's right.
You guys continue.
Hold on, which one is it? Let me see.
I mean, to be clear, Mike, you should know this. It's not like you wrote the song, so.
Oh no! See,
Calm down.
no, I'm a Coca-Cola Christmas guy. Do you know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with religion for me. I'm a Coca-Cola.
Oh no,
guy.
100%.
Holidays
but Coca-Cola
are coming,
did write that song. The holidays are coming. I assume. I've never checked.
No. Right. Okay. Sean, Chris, I don't know if. So over Christmas, was it? It wasn't last Christmas. It was the Christmas before.
Yeah.
Sean revealed that he'd never heard "Step Into Christmas," the Elton John Christmas song.
You say revealed. I didn't know I was revealing it. I was just like, no, what's that? I didn't.
It was one of those where we're going, oh, you'll know what it is. Step into Christmas, step. And he went, no.
Wow.
So we went, okay, get the. So we played the music down the phone. Da 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 da. Bum 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 bum. And Sean's face was just.
Nothing.
I don't know
Nothing.
what you're playing.
That's
me.
wild.
And then
That's weird, isn't
2 weeks later in Asda, oh yeah, Step Into Christmas. I know that song now.
Yeah. You know why? Because they play it every 5
year.
minutes in Asda, Sean.
Yep.
It's a festive joy.
Yep.
Well, okay. Well, we've all been told. We've all been told. Michael, what has he got to say? Sorry, I just read the next bit of the document.
So is it recommended to listen to the podcast in the evening? The news section keeps disorienting me when I listen to it in the morning. You have a lovely bong, though, James.
I told you, Sean. I told you this would happen.
I didn't
People
ask.
get confused.
Oh, I see, right.
You might need to explain to Chris why people are saying he's got a lovely bong. Because it sounds like he's sitting there getting stoned every time we're doing the news.
No, it's just
in the evening.
No, like when you're doing the news, you do a bong, don't you?
Yeah,
So
we're making James say bong every time he does a news story until we end up covering something quite serious, in which case we'll just let James quietly drop it.
Drop the bong.
But yeah.
And
the last...
yeah.
Oh, go on, sorry.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, Michael, then you're going to have to stop listening in the evening. I'm sorry. We put so much effort into this. Mm-hmm. It's about time you stepped up. And if you've got a problem with it and there's a way of correcting it, you do the work.
Yeah,
all right?
Like I know it goes up as a podcast and technically you can listen to it whenever you want, but you actually can't. Yeah, it has to be the right time of day.
To call him up.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Next.
Last bit of feedback comes from Louis B, who says Famous by Courting is a good track, but it's also a rip-off of Hard to Explain by The Strokes.
Oh, no, Louis. No. I love The Strokes, don't get me wrong. But no, Louis. No, that's naughty, isn't it? Now, you go and think about what you've done.
I don't have a horse in this race, but
Courting,
you get into a lot of arguments with your viewers.
A lot of them are knobheads.
Right.
And, you try your hardest to be a good show and create a community, and they ruin it with their opinions. And it kills you sometimes because we really do work hard at this.
And and you try and like stamp it out. You explain to these people why they're wrong, and it just encourages them.
Oh no!
Keep coming back.
Yeah.
We had recently. We've had two people called Stu who were having a massive row in the feedback section of the show with each other, and then someone who stepped in and started kicking off with both of them.
Oh shit! I can't remember. It was a different name, wasn't it?
Not only are you arguing with them, but you're encouraging a sort of culture of infighting as well.
We like it, mate.
Mm-hmm.
We like it over here. We like a little bit of.
It's fine.
You like it.
I do. I do think about that every now and then. Could you imagine people going, "Oh, the computer game show? That seems like a straight up video game podcast. I'll give that a listen." And we've got two stews calling each other knobheads in the feedback before we even get onto any video game news. It's it's a tough nut to crack. But when you're in, you're in.
You're in.
Because I think people look at the format of the show and they're like, it's a bit played out though, isn't it? And you go, well, the thing is, we have two people with the same name arguing. What, on the show? Well, not really on the show. We just read out stuff they've sent in.
Exactly. Also, the format is not dead. So, you said that years ago. And embarrassing now, isn't it? Should we get on to news?
Hello and welcome.
Okay.
What time of day is it, James?
I'm going. I'm not doing the.
Go on, say good morning.
I'm not doing that.
Pretend, imagine we're doing this at like 6 a.m. and it's the breakfast show.
Hello,
be
welcome,
like the Wolfman.
whatever time you
Remember
are.
the Wolfman
No.
on the radio?
Is that the one where
Wolfman?
do they go, ooh?
Yeah, I think he did do that.
I'd be disappointed if he didn't.
He used to just sit there going, no, then next up is... I'll play some Wolfman.
When you first said the Wolfman, I thought you meant that PS2 advert. Did you ever see that?
What was the PS2 advert?
Oh, it's
I've
incredible.
Seen many a PS2 advert.
It was like a short film, and then I think Sony just went, oh yeah, can we have like a 90-second cut of that? And it's just this incredible and like little stop motion animation about this guy becoming a werewolf. And then at the end, it's like, buy a PlayStation 2. Cheers.
Sony have always done the best adverts.
Yep.
They've always done the best ones. Like Microsoft, Nintendo haven't even come close. Nintendo are just getting lazy now. They just show bits of the game and just go, oh, it's available. Like on kids' TV. Oh, buy it. Look, you want it. You're a kid. And then you just want to go.
You want a bit of showmanship.
Sony have a cow eating a duck, and then comes up PlayStation at the end, and now I want a fucking PlayStation. Sorry, James, the news.
Bong. Nintendo will not be present at E3 2023. So they made a statement. They've said, we approach our involvement in any event on a case-by-case basis and are always considering various ways to engage with our fans. Since this year's E3 didn't fit into our plans, we have made the decision to not participate. And although they've said they're still big fans of the ESA and E3 in general, but
I mean,
they just don't want to be anywhere near it.
At the end of it. Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Oh, we still like what they do. We just don't. Yeah, we don't want to go anywhere near them.
This year's E3 show didn't fit into our plans. It's been quite consistent over the years. I don't really see how they've been caught off guard.
Yeah, it's so sad. I miss it so much.
There's no first-party presence there at all now, right? No Xbox, no PlayStation.
No.
I mean, like Xbox said,
E3's dead officially.
Xbox said they'll do something around it, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not
Xbox are being a bit like Jeff Keighley, as in they are doing something at the same time that's
hanging around the office too long. Chris, you've been to E3, right?
Yeah, a few times.
Now, did you enjoy it? Because everyone that's been says they hate it, and it really angers me.
I fucking loved it, but
yes, mate, yes.
Yes. So I, in fairness, I didn't really get to go to what I guess a lot of people think of with E3, with like the big press conferences. I think I went to maybe one or two, like over the course of. I think I've maybe been to E3 3 or 4 times, and.
Shut off.
Yeah, sorry. I just no one else cares. It's just you guys.
I really care.
But the idea of like all the video games being in one place, and particularly when you're there, like for a site, feeling like if you get the right interview, the right person, and you ask the right question, you might be able to like push forward a story that no one else has got. Like I used to find that stuff really like addictive. But
because like I guess if you're there in person, I suppose like the big conferences, like that's like the last place you should be, right?
You can't cover you can't really cover them from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If we were doing like a live report of it, you couldn't rely on the Wi-Fi connection in the room usually. So you'd be in some like extremely cheap hotel that like about half an hour away from the center, and just watching like a worse version of it on a smaller laptop screen than the people back home, which felt a bit ridiculous. But actually, once the doors opened and there was like a whole show's worth of people to go and harangue, I loved it. I really, really loved it.
That's what I loved. I mean, especially with Nintendo. Nintendo would do their presentation, and you'd either be a bit confused or you'd be super hyped. And then for the next 3 or 4 days after their presentation, the interviews will come out, and it's like what the fuck are they doing? What is this? Was it, you go, it's brilliant. Have you seen what this console could do? And then the next 2 weeks will be, yeah, but it doesn't do this, and this for no reason.
You'll get like weeks of like caveats would come out.
Loads of caveats. Yeah, like, the amount of articles that I would read about Nintendo, and at the end it would say, if anything, they've just opened. We just have more questions. What the hell's going on? I think this really sucks. Like, for our side of things, for fans of video games, for consumers, it was like a celebration, wasn't it? It was a note in the calendar. It's E3. This is it. And I genuinely don't think any of these companies will get that again. And it's, as Matt would point out, they're probably better off without it, right? The money they piled into it, the amount of shit they got when they got things wrong, really it was counterproductive. They're on their own terms now. They can release information about games when they're ready to release them. It's not the big focal point for them anymore. I'm happy for them. Good, right? You got an easier life. But for us, we're missing that carnival week where anything can happen, where everyone gets excited, and where some of the funniest shit comes out of those things. It's all gone now, and there is a big part of me that's saying, "Oh my god, this really is a bad thing," because we did like 3 weeks of podcasts just around E3, and I'm going to miss that stuff so much.
Especially having everything like in one week, basically, of and I know that was ridiculous, and that loads of things got missed, because of that as well, because the focus wouldn't be on like various things, everything. But it was just nice, to have it all like this massive like event.
I used to take time off work for it.
Right,
because there would just always be a stream to watch of some sort. Do you know what I mean? There's, like you say, it's just constant flow.
Setting the alarm at 2:00 in the morning for Sony and stuff like that, and it's as you said, it doesn't even need to be free. If they all agreed that 1 week, they would do their major announcements that week. That's all I'd need, because it just. That's what we were in it for. When you look at the press side of things and the professionals, there was a lot more that went on behind the scenes and for the week after those presentations, and it was a completely different thing. But for us, the consumers, it was all about those free presentations. Who was going to win? Who was going to announce the most amazing stuff? Who was going to come out with who was going to try and show us the bottom of a shoe of an Xbox avatar? It's all that stuff I absolutely adored, and I think it kind of is an end of an era. And I've been really self-conscious about the way I talk about things at the moment, and because I think I'm really slipping into the old man, grumpy old man stuff. And these kids don't know, I feel like I'm slipping into that phase of my life. But really, I look at this and just go, oh shit. We're never going to get that again, and that sucks.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it all feels a lot more controlled now. Like even if this, even if all three of the platforms end up doing events around the show, like there's an element of chaos that is not there. That it will be much more clinical, I think, because it will be entirely on their terms. And I don't know, what you're describing is giving me a lot of nostalgia for the sense of community when you're watching that stuff, and it's like the only time in the year that like being on video games Twitter is actually like a mostly pleasant experience. It's just like seeing people joke along with what's happening and get excited, and like there's it hasn't entirely gone, but like it feels a lot different. Like I often even with what was it, State of Play was like a few days ago. I didn't watch it. Like those kind of I know it's not quite on the same level, but like I don't feel the need to be there when this stuff is happening, when it isn't part of the show in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was at the point when Nintendo started putting out the directs instead of doing like the live show and everything. That's the point at which it really shifts.
But then we were saying the other week,
but it wasn't the end of it.
Yeah, like when they first started doing them, they were still having fun with it, and there were still moments and funny jokes and like weird stuff. But yeah, even that's just run completely dry now, hasn't it? It's weird.
I know. I miss the randomness of those shows sometimes. They were.
Same.
It was really good.
Remember when they were all puppets?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it? I still will never get over them saying now time to talk about Smash Brothers, and us looking at the thing, our watch, and saying, well, they've got another 25 minutes, so they've got more stuff coming. And 25 minutes later going, and that's the end of our show. 25 minutes of Smash Brothers. That wasn't even that long ago. I still
And
think
it was so like, 25 minutes of Smash Brothers in and of itself is not a terrible idea, but it was really like getting into like mechanics and changes to moves and stuff, wasn't it? Like, oh, this move's like 3 frames longer than it used to be.
Well, it was because everyone was expecting this is going to be like Nintendo's thing where they're going to reveal everything for the year and all that kind of stuff, and instead it was a deep dive into a game that a lot of people really care about, obviously. But then people that are just there for an overview are not so interested.
And even like that, because that was the year they revealed like Daemon X Machina, right? Which, as an Armored Core fan, I was like, holy shit, this is like, it was like one of the producers who'd worked on Armored Core for years. At that point, it looked like FromSoft weren't touching Armored Core ever again. It's like, oh my god, like at least there's this, right, for me. And then even that was like sort of disappointing in the end. It came out, it's not that good.
Right, okay. E3's dead. What's your next story?
Okay, a bong. Miyamoto says that Nintendo is always working on Mario, but isn't ready to share anything just yet. So he spoke with IGN, and he says we're always working on Mario. So when we get to a time where we can share information, we'll certainly do so. But basically, there's nothing coming.
I misread this headline when I first read it, and it sounded like Mario is always working on himself. Was how I read it. And I was like, what is he just? It's 2023, and he's got some of his opinions need addressing, and he's really working on becoming a better person. Yeah. He's just a working class plumber from Brooklyn. Know what I mean? He's gonna have some
of his views,
controversial opinions.
Yeah.
But he's really working on becoming a better person, and you got to respect that.
Yeah.
But we're not getting any more games, which is a shame. Well, at least not anytime soon.
So we're not going to get one that comes out alongside the movie now.
Apparently not. Well, at least not a new one. At least something not new.
So, yeah. You reckon
maybe they'll do like Galaxy 2 or something, re-release that. That'd be alright.
Oh, yeah. Where did you get that idea? Go on.
James?
No, I thought you were talking, Sean. James?
Well, I was, but then Dave asked you a direct question.
I thought he was throwing that out to everyone.
He knows he's stealing my opinions again, Sean. He's aware of it. Go on.
Unbelievable. No, well, this made me laugh because it reminded me of which year was it? It was, I think it was around it was during the Wii U era, and there was there was no sign of like a Mario or a Zelda or something. And I remember and again, it was one of these in an interview afterwards, Miyamoto had to be like, well, yeah, we're doing a new, of course we're doing a new Zelda, we're doing a new Mario. We just couldn't show you anything.
Who do you fucking think we are?
Yeah, it's like, just because we haven't shown it today, it doesn't mean we're just going to go, oh, fuck it.
He should have come out and just been like, yeah, we're done with that now.
Yeah.
Has he ever lost it in an interview? Has he ever absolutely lost it?
I don't think so. He's known.
I'd love to see that. Wouldn't you love to see that?
Isn't he behind closed doors? He's known for telling people the games are shit, and they have to Isn't it? They refer to it as the table flip, right? And it's the emotional equivalent of him just going, "Fuck this, start again." I don't know.
I'd love to see him just go, do you know what? Fuck off and leave me alone. I'm sick of you. Matt, I don't even like Mario anymore. What about that? I'm more of a Sonic guy. Yeah.
We interviewed him once at Eurogamer, and
say the fuck off.
No, but
it's just as far as we know.
The translator didn't include that. He seemed extremely pleasant and joyful, but it was it took a lot of planning because he was just visiting the country for a short amount of time, and there was a lot of back and forth between Nintendo and Eurogamer on getting this interview. And when we'd hired out this space because we were going to interview him about creating World 1-1, the very first level of Super Mario Bros. And
yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, it's a really great video, like full of lots of little interesting looks into the design. But we like hired out a space, but we didn't really have a very big budget because we were a video games website, and so we were like going to turn like this little studio into like a classroom, but we didn't really have any props, so we wrote like on big bits of paper like capital A, capital B, little b, and like stuck them behind him. Looks awful. And then all the people from everyone wanted to be there because it was Miyamoto, obviously. And so we all, like, as many people from Eurogamer as could possibly fit, like, came and sat in front of him like a classroom. Like, it was all being filmed as like for a video. Again, it's like not that clear. That's what we're going for. And then also, Nintendo were excited about it, and so they asked if we wanted Mario to come along to be in the classroom with us.
Wow.
And so Mario was there, like a giant, like a person in a giant Mario costume sitting there. And we never really came up with an idea of what to do with Mario. And so,
like the substitute teacher.
Yeah, you know, he's just a student in the back of the room that we never interact with or never do anything with, even though it's like they sent fucking Mario
leaning back on his chair.
Yeah,
that reminds me of the time that I tried to dress up as Marty McFly for a fancy dress party, but I didn't have a lot of money to bring the costume together, so I just looked like a fat guy in a red a body warmer and then like a check shirt, and I was like, oh, I don't look like Marty McFly at all, do I? I've just been to George in Asda. Yeah, I mean, he is the legend of video gaming, right? Like, there's no one higher than him. Like, that is the one. That is to be in. I've never even come close. But to be in a situation like that, I cannot imagine what was going through your heads at the time. Like the setup, I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before. Setting the fucking thing up, and as you say, like, just what the fuck have we done here? Look at this. Miyamoto is going to come into this room and look at this and just go, "What the fuck are we doing here?"
Yeah,
He clearly wouldn't. You know what I mean? No, he does, but
I don't know if you like if you search Miyamoto World 1-1 Eurogamer or something on YouTube, at some point you can see the set design that we did. I've just checked. We never actually show the people in the class, so Mario isn't even in the video. So we just got Mario to come along and sit there for no reason.
Amazing. I think someone's posted it in the chat.
What about that guy? Could you imagine that? Like, turning up and getting all dressed up like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then
he's thinking, I'm the main draw here.
Video.
I mean, I'm Mario.
Well, that's what makes me laugh. It's like, you've got the guy who created Mario, and then it's like, right, if you really want to, pull out all the stops, would you like a nobody in a suit?
In a Mario suit. I'll never forget the time we were at EGX and that guy. Oh my god! Yeah, I'm looking at the set now, and you've literally got bits of paper with AABBC written on it.
We didn't. We didn't have a budget to work with. I don't know what else to say. We tried our best out there.
God, yeah, no. Do you remember when I was at EGX and I tried to have a photo with Mario and he wouldn't let me because I had a pint in my hand?
Oh, that's probably like a really strict brand thing.
Yeah. It's quite funny.
What was which year was it? No, I don't think you guys were there. It was the one year I made it to the GMAs, if you remember them.
Oh right.
Ask your
no,
parents.
we were at the Media Brit List Awards. Sure, we didn't quite make the GMAs.
And it was like, bless him, it was just a guy dressed up as the lad from the first Watch Dogs, and like trying to get photos with people, and it was like, I'm all right. I'm not. Yeah, I'm fine.
Sorry, Aiden, is that his name?
Oh yeah.
Aiden, his coat waved about in the wind. Do you remember that?
Did.
That was the final feature
and everything. He's had his time really on that front.
Yeah, it was. Sean, can I just check? Was One Life Left nominated that year? They probably were, weren't they?
Yeah, safe to say.
Yeah, okay. Just interesting. Go on.
Bong. Shinji Mikami is leaving Tango Gameworks.
Oh no,
he's been there for 12 years. And
been there the entire time it's existed.
He just released a game that people like, mate. Yeah. Stick around. Yeah.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because obviously when Hi-Fi Rush came out, I was saying like, oh my god, brilliant, he's done like one of these again, because this is the sort of thing he did at Platinum that I really liked, or Capcom Platinum. And now Hi-Fi Rush has come out and he's fucked off. I mean, maybe
didn't they release a statement saying we're still interested in horror games? Like, I don't know. Who cares? Isn't he just retiring? Like, this isn't really.
I think hasn't he?
He said that he wants to direct at least one more game before he retires, but FIFA. He's got ideas and all that kind of thing. But yeah, he's obviously not there. I mean, we
all got ideas, Shinji. I don't think you're anything special, mate.
Not all of them are good.
Yep. I think there's something interesting here with so this is a studio that has, through ZeniMax at least, been acquired by Xbox, right? And you're presumably, when that happens, contracts are being signed where like leadership are meant to stick around for a certain amount of time.
That's right.
And so you wonder with some of these like studios that get picked up, like if we'll see more and more of that happen, like some of the names you most associate with those studios moving on to different places, and whether or not they can keep their identity. I'm watching, I don't know if you guys have been, like, I'm obsessed with it, but that documentary series that just came out about Double Fine.
Yes. I am 9 episodes in at the moment.
Oh, are you? I think we're about neck and neck then.
Oh, right. I'm 30. I'm on the 31st episode. I binged it like crazy. But it makes me think...
What's incredible is that I'm like, don't spoil it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, totally.
Because I was saying to, I think I posted it in our WhatsApp group, didn't I? Like, so like I'm like, Zach is there now, and it's silly because I don't know what happens or anything, but I am aware obviously that he left.
Director of Second.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
But I'm aware that he left, like, a good couple of years before the game came out. But like, and now I'm watching it. Like every time it looks like he kind of upsets someone, I'm like, ooh, look, which is completely unfair, right? He's in a it's a difficult role. It's a leadership position. The sort of very iterative nature of game design means that 90% of the time it's his job to be like, no, this doesn't quite work.
Yep.
And I think he appears to do that very well. But yeah, part of me is like, oh, I wonder why he fucking leaves.
Honestly, it handles all of that stuff. So I think it's the best like documentary work I've ever seen about games. It's so incredible. So with
are you fuming, Chris? Do you watch it fuming? Just you know what? Fuck you.
Like there's an element of that. I gotta say, like it's so good. Like it's a bar that
I want to see if you posted anything under a different name in the comments. Like, this is shit. Look at the lighting.
Jim Farley says. Yeah. No, it's so like there's a bunch of topics like so that guy leaves, right? I won't spoil, even though that's kind of like you say, it's kind of crazy. Him leaving is a big deal and complicated.
Right.
There's like conversations around crunch. Obviously, the acquisition is coming up with Microsoft. There's the pandemic, and like the thing that is amazing about this series, that is why I think it's some of the best work I've ever seen on this, is like Double Fine and the people at the top of it do not always come out looking like that great in certain moments.
Right.
Like it is messy. Sure. Like and like Tim Schafer, who is like, the
fucking nightmare to work with. I'm sorry. Every fucking meeting I've seen, I wouldn't be able to handle him. Right? I'll be. Can you just go? Because he's sitting there, right, and they're talking about something serious, and he's like cracking jokes, and I just want to go, Tim, do you want to fuck off just for 5 minutes? Like, we're trying to get this done. Like, it's
or like he'll walk
into
like something that he reads as a tense situation, and just goes like, "Oh, is this a bad time?" or like whatever, and it's like, shut up, walk away. Just live
there. He's interesting, but right. He's so clearly like the so much of the culture of that studio comes from him though as well. Like the tensions with like people like Zach who are coming in from outside are that they are trying to bring a structure that maybe works in other studios like differently to Double Fine. But yeah, I love that I watch this and like I can see the documentary doesn't hide from the fact that Schafer, for example, like is both an inspiring boss and, like you pointed out, really frustrating at times. Like and it's like I don't know if you know this about Two Player Productions, but they are actually and have been for a while now. They are literally employees of Double Fine. It's not even
they're
on the payroll. They are like the class the same as a game developer in terms of how their employment works. I would expect so much of this stuff to never get out into the public, just because even though I think like reasonable people can see the nuance of it, like you can't always trust the internet to react with nuance on topics or any of that. So it's so good.
I wonder why release it. Like I know that's a ridiculous thing to say, but like if it is, I know it's brilliant for us. It's like great for us to see this and see like how it's done. But if you're like that studio and you're fully in control of the message that you want to put across, why would you do that?
I think sometimes they feel that it's more important than
Yeah, I think they trust
the feeling that I get from it.
Yeah, they trust the audience to kind of know that this stuff goes on anyway. I don't think they're like at no point are they going like, surprise, game development's horrible. Like it's being delivered to an audience that they know kind of knows that to an extent, but seeing how it plays out is really
Ben's in the chat saying, well, it was a Kickstarter stretch goal, so they did it for money, which I understand, but also they could have hit that stretch goal and without revealing as much as they have in this document.
Yeah, it could have just been
some sort of puff piece about.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because that's because 2Player Productions, the first thing I was aware of them doing was the Minecraft documentary. I don't know if any of you've seen it. I mean, going back a long time now, but I remember like when I got my copy of that on DVD. Remember those? And I remember thinking like, oh my god, this is going to be fascinating because it's going to cover like the big fallout with Yogscast at the first, the first convention and stuff, and like blah, blah. I mean, obviously this is before we knew what we know now about Notch and stuff, but and none of that was in there, and I was like, oh, right, this is what a documentary looks like that has been paid for, by the developer essentially. I mean, maybe not, maybe who knows why it ended up the way it did. But yeah, so like when like the Broken Age one came out, I was kind of expecting the same thing, and almost immediately it was like, oh no, this is showing Tim kind of being an arse at times, having to make difficult decisions. And the same is true of the Psychonauts 2 one. It's
So interestingly, when they first put out the Broken Age one, the response, they got a lot more negativity back to that because at that time Tim Schafer was a real target for Gamergate. Like it was.
That's right. Yeah.
So there was a lot of people like that wanted to see him and anyone associated with him in a certain way. I do think though, because I've been asking myself that same question, like why would they do this from Double Fine's point of view? And I do genuinely think part of it is that they want to like humanize what they do a little bit more and show like the reality of it. But I think like I have come out of this documentary with such a different emotional connection to that studio. And I'm thinking of like, given that they've been so reliant on things like Kickstarter, they're like core 10,000 fans are so important to them because like that's where like you get this huge portion of the funding. It's allowed the studio to work in a completely different way. And I do think there's something to be said for like, because not that many people have watched the documentary, and it was required loads of fucking work. I do think the people that come out the other end of it are going to care about that studio for the rest of its existence. Like it's that powerful. And so I think there's maybe something there in the fact that like maybe that ends up speaking to 10,000 people and really like affecting their like emotional connection with them. And that is actually really valuable to them as a studio. But that's also kind of a cold way to even talk about something that I think is more than that. I think they are actually thinking of it as a piece of like an artistic endeavor as well. Obviously, that's ridiculous to even say that out loud. I'm embarrassed that I just said that.
No, I think that makes sense. And I think I do think that's how they look at it to some extent. But I do think you're right. I think there is also it's different. They feel like one of those different companies that sort of value that connection with their. Rightly or wrongly, they value that connection they have with their fans. That they know that they'll release anything, and there'll be a certain group of people there to buy it. And I prefer that. I prefer the way they handle that to say the way that Sega handle it, right? Because I look at what Sega do sometimes. They go, "Oh no, you just know that anyone you stick Sonic on something, they fucking buy it.
Yeah.
You know that, right?" I feel uneasy with that sometimes, especially with their limited edition stuff and this and that. Whereas this, I feel it's a little bit more, hey, our doors are open, the curtains are open, you could see what we're doing.
I can't believe Sega dude himself has just fucking
I turned, mate.
company like that.
I fucking turned.
Unbelievable.
Turned.
It's
always the
interesting,
mega
isn't it? Like,
fans.
because I consider myself like one of those Double Fine fans. Like I will buy and play anything they put out. However, I'm never expecting like a 10 out of 10 polished experience. Like out of that, like I'll buy something like Rad and be like, this is going to be okay, but I'm going to really enjoy the tone of it, right, and the sense of humor and stuff, and I did, and that's fine. But like you say, Dave, I think there's a lack of cynicism there. It's not like, certainly there have been major missteps, like was it Space Base DF9, which was like in early access, and then they kind of one day they just sort of went, we have to stop developing this now because it's run out of money. Right. Yeah, that's a problem. But I haven't felt like I've had the piss taken out of me as a fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what that documentary does as well, right? Like it shows when those, like when Psychonauts 2 gets delayed, or like or some of the issues you might have with it as a fan. Like in no way do I feel that the studio is taking the piss, having watched that, like at least in relation to that game, like that for better and worse, like their hearts are like firmly embedded in that work.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's a good. Sorry, this was off the back of Shinji Mikami.
So I was going to say, that's made me think of this, because Tim Schafer is like so attached to Double Fine. It's kind of hard to like imagine the two being separated.
Yeah,
right.
Presumably he's just signed a contract when that acquisition happened that is like, you need to stay here for at least this long. I wonder what happens at the end of that. And it just got me thinking about all the studios that Xbox is hoovering up, like what they look like, a decade later.
Yeah,
Sony did the same thing when they got Bungie as well recently. They had like those agreements in place that were like, can't leave during that time because we're buying the talent. But maybe over time we'll see what happens. Anyway, Bong, Rovio delists original Angry Birds game because of the impact that it's had on free to play, which is. I don't know. I thought this was quite interesting. So what this was they released this game, which it's Rovio Classics Angry Birds, right? Which was where you paid a single price for the game, no microtransactions or whatever. People seemed to really like it, and they downloaded it, and a lot of people played it. And then, do you want me to read the whole statement from Rovio?
How long is it?
I'll tell you what. I'll read the first paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, so they said, we have reviewed the business case of Rovio Classics Angry Birds, and due to the game's impact on our wider games portfolio, we've decided that Rovio Classics Angry Birds will be unlisted from the Google Play Store on the Thursday, February 23rd. Additionally, the game will be renamed to Red's First Flight in the App Store, pending further review. Rovio Classics Angry Birds will remain playable on devices on which the game has been downloaded even after it has been unlisted.
PT.
Yeah, so they're basically saying that this is impacting on their free-to-play stuff, and how people were just buying the game, playing it, and then not interested in all the other ones they were doing.
I've never felt more out of touch with what's going on mobile at the moment. It feels like a completely separate market that I haven't even got a grip on. Like, I can't even understand. Because all of those, like PUBG and stuff, they've all abandoned mobile now, haven't they? And weren't they massive on mobile at one point?
Well, Call of Duty's still huge on mobile, right? That's like because it's big in and of itself, and it's also like a pipeline to get people through to the actual console games as well. Which is possibly.
I'm assuming
one of the
Fortnite is still a big thing on mobile as well, right?
Well, it isn't.
It's not.
Yeah, because it got.
Wait, so I didn't realize that PUBG had moved away from it, because I knew it was like it's like the number of players at one point like was far greater than the base game.
Yeah,
like a lot of it was in India, I think, but didn't they run into an issue?
Have I just made up a story again?
No, I'm not sure. I'm also completely out of touch with
Ben in the chat saying so. Apex Legends mobile is gone.
Apex Legends, PUBG was possibly. It's just weird. I look at stuff like that and I just go, oh, I thought that was massive on mobile, and they're delisting it, so it can't be. Like Angry Birds going, I guess, I don't know. It's very strange. We've said on the show for years now that none of us are playing mobile games, and we are definitely in the minority. There's no doubt about that. Mobile space is still massive, right?
Still, I mean, Marvel Snap, obviously, still on that
case
quite a bit. But it's fascinating to me that arguably the best place for mobile gaming at the moment is fucking Netflix. The fact that they're sort of hoovering up some really good games for mobile is bizarre.
Is it for us? It might be, but
I'm talking about for us. Yeah, we're broadly
which is what sucked about this Apple Arcade thing, because everyone when they launched that, everyone was like, "This is it. This is what we want."
It's back.
And then everyone did the 3 month and then unsubbed again.
Well, but then Apple Arcade had a good year or so, loads of interesting stuff coming out, and then they just absolutely ruined it.
Yeah, but that's just Apple, isn't it? With games, as in it sounds like a good idea, but I think it really
that's what's so frustrating is
I
know I know what you're saying. Apple have repeatedly shown that they don't really understand games, but for a bit, someone there definitely did. Someone was making those decisions about that first salvo of Apple Arcade games, and they were fucking good. I bought an iPad on the strength of that, because I was to be fair, there's already 150 quid's worth of games on here that I want to play. That's what it would have cost me on Switch or whatever. It was massive, and then they just completely squandered it. It's bizarre.
I think this is interesting though, the fact that this was so popular. It seems, maybe because it wasn't free to play, and then they were just okay, we need to shut this down because it's affecting the other areas.
Yeah,
of
it's
business,
we're not going to force you to play the version you don't want.
Yeah,
because we know it's more hostile towards you. Do you know what's really freaking me out at the moment is, I've mentioned before, Isaac has a kid's Fire tablet, and I'm oh great, it's versions of shitty free to play games, but with the free to play stuff completely taken out. I'm oh good, that's fine, that's safe. But it's now occurring to me that he is he's learning the language of those games.
Exactly, and that's always been my problem with this is the way that the free to play model changed game design. It changes the way that things are made.
Yeah.
And I think probably not in a great way.
Yeah.
Because it's designed for things to be addictive and for to try and get people to keep pumping money in there.
Yeah, and on one day he's gonna play one of these games and he's gonna be oh well, this costs gems. What do you mean they're not free? Dad, can I have a tenner? Do you know what I mean? That's gonna happen.
We are from the arcade era, though, right?
It's true.
Yeah, but then that kind of died, and that was good.
But look, we were. Dad, can I have another £1? Why? You literally just put one into a machine 5 minutes ago. Yes,
no, but it's but imagine if all the console, the home consoles you'd grown up with, just had an extra life button, when you have an arcade on free play, and then one day it was oh no, that actually is £1 every time now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've learned how that works, and
it's also in your pocket that buzzes constantly, going, "Feed me." Sorry, that's when Isaac. Sorry.
Oh, I was just thinking, you think of those moments where a kid grows up and leaves the innocence of childhood behind. It's when the gems stop being free.
Absolutely,
it's all changes.
Well, this is it, and this is why I'm now thinking, do I now just give him my old iPad and just I curate the apps on it and make sure he only plays good stuff? But then I liked the idea of
that's the most Apple thing I've ever heard. You've got full Apple there, Sean.
Mate.
So I really don't do that because I just wouldn't let the children play mobile games.
Well, this is it. Because
I wouldn't let the children.
You're only playing console games.
Because I liked the idea of Isaac having his own agency about what he chooses to play, but then you're just this is all fucking garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knows as well, because when I let him when I do let him play stuff on my tablet, he fucking loves it, and he clearly engages with it in a different way. But
you got to be careful with that, James. Though, so when I was a kid, my mum was not wild about me having sugar at all. She was nah, It's not happening. And you should see me with a pack of like bourbon creams
I know,
today.
yeah.
It's
I was
fucking,
the same.
it's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, honestly, exactly the same. Look what happened to me. It's like it's not great.
Got to wean them onto free to play.
Yeah.
James, I'm ready for another bong, mate.
All right,
Yeah.
bong. No, this is the last one.
Bong
So
hit.
this is the last one. So bong.
Oh, there we go.
Everything announced at Sony's. Oh no, I don't need to read that.
Oh my god, we haven't even started with this. Jesus, okay.
Right, Sony did a state of
we
play.
don't have to go on too long.
They did. Yeah, Sony did a state of play. They showed off 5 new PSVR games. Sean and I watched it. We watched it and we talked over
How
it.
much snark was coming from Sean, James, with the VR stuff?
Not actually a lot, actually.
No, so
Not
not
a lot.
right.
Sound like you.
And I meant it.
I like you.
Yeah, he was not very snarky.
no.
I mean,
Okay.
I mean, the head. Okay, so the main things that probably were worth talking about is there was the 5 new VR games. Some of those which look quite good, although they're not really new, are they, Sean? Like the
No.
Before Your Eyes is not a new one, is it?
I mean,
That's one that's already
it
been out.
being on VR is new. It's new to VR, as far as I'm aware. And then but then there's like Green Hell. That's been around for a while. What else was there? I've forgotten. Oh no,
There
there
was Synapse.
Yeah, Synapse. Yeah, so there was some fun looking sci-fi shooty stuff. There was the one with the cards.
Foundation.
Hang on, I think we've gone the other way around.
It
Foundation
was
was the sci-fi, because that's the Isaac Asimov one. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
So,
it's RPG. It was like Journey to Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was pretty rubbish, right? It was rubbish. I thought it was rubbish.
It was all right. I mean, there's a bit more footage of Chia, which, like, the way it looks definitely blends in with a lot of other indie stuff. However, yeah, like people who've done previews of it and stuff are like, oh no, this is actually magic. So I'm excited about that. There's a new trailer for Goodbye Volcano High, which, as we said on the stream, is not really aimed at us.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
a
not
bit
really
old.
on board. Which is weird because we love Life is Strange. So we
This is
can't
what I
turn
said
up,
on
but
the
it
you
seems
make
just
everyone
like that one
dinosaurs.
step too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said
I
on the
watched
stream.
the
It was like,
stream.
it wasn't dinosaurs, probably.
Yeah. I watched the stream, James. I watched at the beginning of it when you were all going, "Oh, David's not here because he can't be bothered." It's because I wanted to spend time with my wife, Sean.
All right.
Is my marriage
Show
that
off.
sickening to you? Yeah. Is it that sickening?
I mean, it shows a lack of commitment, if anything.
Does.
But, you know.
Should have got her on the stream.
It made me
Loved it.
think of Denver the Last Dinosaur, man, and I'm all up for a game about that.
Fine.
Remember him?
We also
what
had
else was
Humanity.
He used to roller skate everywhere, and he was a fucking
He
dinosaur.
did,
The
it's
boy.
true.
What a lad.
My friend and a whole lot more.
He was.
That's a weird sentence, isn't it, now, in hindsight?
My friend and a whole lot more.
Yeah.
They were definitely shagging the dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, Sean.
Yeah, Denver the Last Dinosaur, friend with benefits.
Different time. Different time.
It was.
Look, it's the Jurassic Age. Sorry, where are we going
Humanity,
with it?
James.
Yeah,
Go
we
on.
had Humanity as well, which was I mean, that's coming out. It's PS4, PS5, and PSVR2 as well. And
That's from the Tetris
and-
Effect
and
team.
PC.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Right.
I mean, we should have
Yeah.
mentioned
Weird.
this
Have you
last,
not
because that'd have
played
been
this,
a tasty segue, but never mind.
So the demos. Well, I mean, we could talk about it now, can't we? And just take it out. We've got enough games.
We haven't
to
talked
talk
about Suicide Squad, Dave.
Oh, that's true.
Humanity. The Humanity demo is. I was massively disappointed by it.
Were you?
You played it? Yeah, I was like, because I think because I didn't fully understand what the game was until I played it.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
when just looking at the visuals, I was like, "Oh my god, this looks nuts!" I was like, "This takes me back to the time where PlayStation were doing all those weird games like Nobby Nobby Boy and all that sort of stuff." I was thinking, "This is wild. This is gonna be really interesting." And it turned out to just be the mini game in Ratchet and Clank.
I don't.
You know that?
Go on.
Well, it's the mini game from
that?
Ratchet and Clank
Okay.
where. There's like when you're hacking things in Ratchet and Clank, you go into them and there's lots of little robots following a line and you direct them around obstacles and stuff.
Right.
And I was like, oh no, that's what I'm doing here. I don't want to do this with my time. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest demo for me. I sort of tapped out really early on. Why did you like it then, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, again, I
Did you play? You didn't play Ratchet and Clank though, did you,
didn't
mate?
play Ratchet and Clank and play the original.
You're sick of it by now. Yeah.
So, well, because I saw it as like a Lemmings type
Right.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I did. How many levels are in the demo? I think I did like 8 or 9 levels. Yeah,
And then you can make your own, right?
Yeah, which I'm never gonna do but it's nice that it's there, isn't it? I really enjoyed this. I quite like puzzle games anyway. It's delightfully weird. You wake up as a dog, and it's like, yeah, sure. Like your avatar in that game, it literally doesn't matter what you are. Might as well be a dog. Why not? And yeah, I quite enjoyed the fact that like doesn't matter if people die. It's not really an issue. If you get something slightly wrong and everyone starts just walking off a cliff, doesn't matter. Some of them are kids. Doesn't matter, apparently.
Someone clip that.
But then there's the golden guys, right?
The golden guys, the big golden guys.
Yeah, the golden lads. Like you want to try and like make sure they get to the end. They're your sort of bonus objectives. So I just quite like the fact that each level, it's like there's a bit of room to experiment, but then there's these extra objectives to go for.
What's the music like if it's the Tetris Effect team? Like that was such a huge.
The music doesn't seem a part of it. Yeah, the music doesn't seem a part of it as much as it was for those games. Like if I would not have guessed that it was from that team.
I see.
Based on what I've played, but again, it's early days and you don't know where these things are going to go. But when you're playing a demo, you expect it to sort of give a hint of where it might be going. And all I got from that is that, oh no, I've played a million of these puzzle games. I mean, it looks like more interesting because it's a steady stream of people walking towards a goal. But that doesn't really save. Actually, what I'm doing is just redirecting a stream of people around obstacles to get to that goal.
I do wonder if. Because I played this on Steam Deck, and I feel like it being handheld is a big part of the appeal. Feels perfect for that.
To me, it felt like it could have been a mobile game when I was playing it, and it's in VR, right? It's got VR support, right?
It is. I tried it actually, but only very very brief. I only tried like the first one or two levels. But
what are you doing? Just looking down on the
you're looking down. And,
that sounds right.
Really.
You feel like God. Did you come off of it with like some sort of complex where you thought?
That's why he only did one level. He felt too powerful.
You feel the power. He started walking outside and directing people.
I was wondering what happens to the people when they die. When they fall off. Where do they go?
Okay. Anything else announced at the State of Play, James, that's worth talking about? Probably not.
I mean, we do need to talk about Suicide Squad, right?
We can, yeah. I mean, there was Street Fighter 6, but no, I don't think anyone cares on here about that. But Resident Evil 4...
It's not that we don't care, we're just incapable of talking
I don't think anyone cares about Street Fighter.
I said anyone on here cares about that. I mean, unless Chris, what do you think?
I might. No, I don't. I'm not at all. But it looks good, but I'm happy for everyone.
Do you get completely intimidated when people start talking about cancel reverse parries or whatever?
My God, yeah.
I can't handle it. My brain just goes inside itself, and I don't know what's going on.
I don't have much to say about this other than Baldur's Gate 3 getting its release date is exciting. We knew it was this year, but that's cool. But Suicide Squad. What was the vibe? People seemed displeased.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the combat looked fun enough. I was very surprised to see how aerial it is. All the characters seem to be able to just dash around in the air pretty much indefinitely, as long as there's an enemy to hit, right? So you're just endlessly sort of comboing, pulling enemies up into the air, whacking them around. But then it was doing it to the extent that it was am I watching someone play this really well, or is it just dead easy to do this, and therefore does it sort of become a bit meaningless? I didn't see. I don't know if you felt any differently, James. I didn't see any sort of interplay between the teammates. It's you got Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot, and it's they've all got different abilities. Captain Boomerang,
King Shark,
and these they said King Shark's the tank and stuff, but then at no point was it here is a meaningful interaction between the teammates,
right?
So that felt a bit strange, and they've mentioned, we're going to be adding more characters and stuff. It's but you've just shown us a mission where there's it's constant cutscenes. So how do new characters factor into that? They're just kind of standing around with no lines. What's little things like that maybe is silly to care about at this point. But I don't know. There was just something about it. I wasn't entirely convinced.
I mean, the other thing that people have picked up on was all the enemies having these massive purple this is the weak point where you got to
charitably there is a very consistent visual language with regards to weak points. That is like you say that like enemies just have these massive glowing purple pustules.
Why are people angry about that all of a sudden?
Well, this is
a
it.
hot topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is so many games. You know, weak points are just a thing. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's a computer game. I think that
the thing
that annoys me is obviously it's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and like they show this cutscene where the Flash is being evil. Like they're all evil for some reason. They've been corrupted or whatever. I can't remember if they explain that or not. But basically, Wonder Woman shows up with her truth whip, whaps it around the Flash, and she's like, "How do we stop this?" And he's like, "You have to kill all of us." And I'm just like watching, like, yeah, but you won't. Because it's a DC property. You're not going to fucking kill Batman. It's not going to happen. So
it's
why
true,
are you pretending that it's a thing? Do you know what I mean?
There's not going to be a scene where you take Batman's head off. You know, it's not going to happen.
Dave, that's Marvel, mate. Calm down.
Yeah, but you can. The multiverse could do anything, can't it? I don't know. Who gives a shit? Right. Okay. Are we? Oh, it's Batman. Oh, fucking. Just chill out. Right. Are we? This superhero stuff. Seriously, it's too much now.
But yeah, and then basically on top of this, again, it's got this, game as a service stink around it, and like all the articles are just like it's going to be another Avengers. Like I'm already like exhausted looking at character screens and stuff. It's just don't know.
It's like, like if you want to play single player, you have to be always online and that kind of thing.
They know that the Lego games sell really well, right? And then look at that and just go, well, why don't we just do that?
But then a Warner Brothers looking at the Lego games and going, yeah, but this is a failure because we haven't properly monetized this. Like, are they looking at the Lego games and being like, well, we're fucking up by just releasing a game and charging 60 quid and there you go. Like, are they expecting a longer tail? I mean, remember that this is the same company who like forced all the microtransactions into Shadow of War, because and everyone hated it as a result, even though the first one everyone absolutely loved.
Right. All right. Okay. So that's probably it for the state of play, James. Is it?
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
You got a fantasy zone this week, or are we going straight onto what we've been playing?
I've got nothing.
Okay, so there are a lot of games in front of me. I think we should leave the PSVR2 stuff to the end because I think they're going to be very quick here. For the one game that I see in front of me that I'm really interested to hear from is Sean and Atomic Heart.
Oh no!
What?
Have you done your homework?
Don't fucking put it down then.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah. No, you're right.
Go on. Have you been playing? I'm surprised you've been playing this. I didn't know you had any interest in this game.
Obviously I had some interest. Obviously, we talked last week. There are legitimate reasons why people may choose not to play this. We'll get into that. But I'd figured it's on Game Pass. Any money that's going to them because of me.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll play that next week.
Well, there you go.
My morals have gone out the window. Is it free? Is it?
It's just I wanted to see firsthand the extent to which like this could be perceived as propaganda, right? Because it's.
But how in touch are you with the subject matter, with the real world?
Well, this is it, and this is what I find interesting. So. The way the game starts, like, it so desperately wants to be BioShock. It's unbelievable. To the point that it's like, if it wasn't done quite so well, it would just be embarrassing. And it is still a little bit embarrassing. Because it starts out, you are in this, a floating city, no less, that's like completely idyllic. Everything's amazing. I can't remember if it specifies which year it's set in. I think it's like 60s, maybe early 70s. And it's, and you're going through this environment, and there's a good sort of 40 minutes of like zero combat, world building. Like it looks incredible. Like these opening sequences, I'm playing on the Series S, and it still looks amazing and like, runs beautifully and stuff. But it's like the story is it's an alternate history, right? So you're in you're in Russia, but it's like there was this like during World War II there was this plague, and the Russian scientists cured it, and now Russia's like the main global superpower. So obviously already you're like, okay, it's bigging up Russia, right? But because you're getting so many BioShock Infinite vibes, you're like, well, BioShock Infinite's thing was that, Columbia was like this grotesque, sort of caricature of like American exceptionalism, right? And it was, the whole point was it was bullshit, and it was horrible. So you're like, well, maybe this is going to turn it on its head. As far as I'm aware, this game does not do that. Obviously things go wrong, and you end up fighting robots that have gone crazy. But it's like a disgruntled scientist. It's like a workplace disagreement that causes that to happen. It's not actually humanity should not be doing this sort of thing, right? Sorry, James, go on.
And this is what I've heard about this, because obviously I've not played this, but I'm kind of interested to play it because of the the propaganda angle and how this is, and this is the main point that I've heard, is that they don't look at the sort of the Soviet futurism or the this idea of what a Soviet utopia could be in any sort of critical way really at all. It's just presented as being this, which is something, as you said, that the BioShock games did quite well. This idea of like the libertarian future and what that can lead to, and how that can lead to an entirely messed up sort of existence, whereas this doesn't do that.
This is like, if it wasn't for this one guy making the robots go crazy, everything would be fine.
So I think it might there's a really good article on Vice by Renita Price called "Is Atomic Heart Pro-Russia or Just Russian?" And it delves into the it's such a complicated moment for this game to arrive. Like literally, Ukrainian government
the timing
has asked
is
people not to
hard to ignore.
It. But there's so I think this was based on a fuller playthrough of it, but she talked about the fact that it isn't like full-throated support of what this like alternative Soviet Union would look like, and that like its own. It's also sort of getting crushed by its own ambition a little bit as well. So I think there is meant to be some nuance in there, but it's so, I don't know how to feel about it at all. It feels such a weird moment to even think about this kind of story.
Yeah, and like it seems really strange to me that like if it is 100% intended as propaganda, and it's supposed to be like, look, isn't Russia amazing? Surely the fact that it's like it's made up, right? It's fictional. It's an alternate history where Russia did all these things that it didn't do in real life. Does that not make it completely shit? As do you know what I mean? Like if you have to make it up,
because I think the general tone and messaging, I think, despite the fact that it could be built on shit, I think you could still come away from that being influenced in a way that maybe is pro-Russian.
And certainly there are more than enough people on shitheads on the internet who are like, haha, I hate Ukraine, I'm going to buy 10 copies of this. Like, regardless of how good the game is or how effective it is as piece of propaganda, the fact that it exists.
The fact that like during like the Putin's time, and especially in the last sort of 10, 15, 20 years, there's been like a massive focus on like reevaluating within Russia like the Soviet history, and in a more positive light than it was before. And a game like this, even though it's not going to do it, like as you said, it's showing an alternative history that didn't happen. Does that then sort of invalidate the previous experience? It doesn't really, because you're still showing that there is the potential for this is what we could have become. This is what we were. Maybe we've been prevented, from being this, like in the future at some point.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough, and I think it's a lot for people that care about that stuff, because let's face it, there's people that don't care about the story behind video games. They see a video game, they want to buy a video game, right? But for those of us that do care about the story behind it and the development process and potentially the points of view that are being put across in video games, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I've seen clear examples of how this is, propaganda, and then I've seen replies to that showing, no, you're absolutely wrong. This isn't propaganda because of these reasons, and it seems like a really messy argument to read into.
it doesn't have to be like an explicit propaganda. Like, it doesn't have to be something which has been produced by by the state. But it's the fact that it has been grown out of a culture that has been shaped by the state, like in the last sort of 10, 15 years. And
no, you're right. But then the example I mean is that someone said that there was a can in the game that has the Ukrainian flag on and it has pigs written on it or whatever. And then someone else pointed out, no, this is a legitimate item. You know, this is not.
It's a play on like an actual real life brand of that's sold.
Well, no, it is actually it is the real life brand.
Oh right, okay. I thought it. Okay,
so,
right.
Yeah, it's nuts. But it's tough, and it's really hard to spot that stuff coming from, say, a place that I'm from, if you know what I mean, like where my senses are not open to picking up on that stuff, and maybe that is potentially really dangerous, because if I'm not picking up on that stuff explicitly, then what's getting through to my brain box? I don't know. I haven't really got a brain box, but that aside, Sean, is the game worth play? I mean, you can't say that aside because that's part of it, right? But what's the game like? Is it any good?
Nah.
All right. I won't download it.
I mean, so before you even get to the combat, the writing is shit. The main character is fiercely unlikable. He's got a fucking talking glove, right? And that's like it, and it's got these little tendrils, and that's how that's his inbuilt smart computer, basically. And like the glove is just making smarmy comments all the time. It's quite annoying.
Sounds like Cuff from Spoken.
I was going to say, because it's an interesting comparison. So yeah, he's making smarmy comments, and he's just like, "Oh, fuck off, glove, like you prick," or whatever. And it's awful. Like, it's not funny. It's not.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I haven't played Forspoken. I gather there are moments where it's that it sort of works in that you've got someone from the real world who's in this fantasy setting, who is kicking against that, right? And maybe reacting to things as we
sometimes
would.
that works, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas this is like, no, the character is from here, and clearly, like, he's a fucking KGB agent. He clearly is invested in Russia. He talks about, this sort of main scientist, like, saved his fucking life, and he's like, yeah, I owe him my life, like, he's amazing. But he's just endlessly moaning about everything. And it's like, mate, you're in a flying city. Come on, like, stop telling everyone to piss off. Like, it's just tedious. Like, it's awful. So you're seeing these wonderful things, and the it's like the character's essentially calling you an idiot for finding it wonderful. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he finds it all ridiculous and tedious. So yeah, it's very much like the Cuff situation, but also it's interesting how it's different. And long story short, like, as soon as the combat kicked off, like, you start off with like a little axe as your melee weapon. I just immediately did not like it. It's, like, again, wants to be BioShock or Half-Life or whatever. It's like, right, start you with the melee weapon, and you've got some enemies who are kind of, they're deadly enough, but no one's got any guns or anything. You're working your way up. But with like, in like the first BioShock, you immediately, you learn the 1-2 punch, and it feels like it's quite intense initially. If someone comes at you, like, boom, whack them with the wrench, and it's like, oh my god, this feels icky. Whereas this is like, I don't know, there's just like no real sense of impact. It's a first-person shooter where you're expected to dodge with the B button, which I hate, because it's like, I've got to take my thumb off the stick to do it.
I am also playing a first-person shooter where I'm expected to dodge with a B button, but that's Metroid Prime, and James will absolutely kill me if I bring that up.
But then to be fair, that was originally designed assuming you weren't really using the right stick, right?
Yeah,
so that's
true.
Borderline.
Not
anyway,
first-person shooter either.
I did some combat. I hated it. There's a bit where it tries to teach you how to stealth, and then I fucked it up, and the glove's like, "Oh, I thought you said you were good at stealth," and he's like, "Piss off." When you first meet the vending machine that like gives you new abilities, it's got like the AI in it is like, I don't know, it's like a sexy bondage thing where she's like, oh, like she, like, all these tentacles come out and she like tries to grab you, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna play with you. It's all this fucking awful, like, quote unquote sexy dialogue, and then your fucking glove like hacks it and shuts her up, and then that's it. Those machines apparently never talk again throughout the rest of the game, and you're just like, what? Why?
Yeah, what was that about?
Just loads of shit like that. You just like,
is it just ideas? Like, is it just like
Yeah.
feel like a game where it's just like half-baked ideas across the lot? Yeah.
Basically, yes, and it wants you to think. It wants to remind you of BioShock and Half-Life and stuff, whereas actually it's 100% linear. Again, I haven't played enough of it, but everything I've read is like you basically just need like one of the powers that does like the electric shock. You don't need to. There is no need to be creative with it, and there isn't really the scope for it. It's just not that good.
Right.
As is often the way, when a game stirs up a load of controversy and then you play it and then it's like, oh, it's actually just not even. We've talked about it too much. I've talked about it too much.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm aware that we've got so many games to talk about. I'm not going to talk about Metroid Prime this week, but I've been hammering away at that. Chris, was there anything on your list? What have you been playing recently?
Oh, sure. I can pick one out that some people, it might have slipped under people's radar, actually. It just came out, I think, this last week on Steam. It's called The Pale Beyond.
Oh,
Pale Beyond.
Yeah, go on. I know of it.
So interestingly, it's like it's developed by, it's the first game from a new studio called Balular Studios, which I know as like it's founded by someone who has like a World of Warcraft news channel and has like quietly been able to diversify into setting up an entire game studio that has made a really decent so far I really like it. It's a survival narrative game about leadership, I guess, is its main theme. And you take on the role of a first mate on a ship in, God, I don't even know, like the 1800s, 1900s, something like that. And you're part of an Arctic exploration hunting after another ship that went missing a few years back. And the way that you're hired onto the ship is pretty sus from the beginning. Like the interview that you have with the captain is mostly about vibes, it feels like. He doesn't seem that interested in your... Like, he does ask about your qualifications, but he's mostly just like, we'll like, what's your crack, basically? And and it's you. So you go on the expedition. You're hunting after this other ship. It's really unclear who's funding the whole thing, and the captain and the crew are all a bit weird. And basically, at some point, the captain who you're serving under goes missing, and you need to take on his responsibilities. And it's really, it has a lot of like Frostpunk to it, I guess, which is like managing like very scarce resources in an environment that is so cold that it wants to kill you, and your ship is like the ice has frozen around your ship and you can't move, and it's about survival in that situation, managing resources. But the unlike Frostpunk, which is mostly like, a zoomed out view of the final city on Earth and like a large population. This is like a small crew of people that you know by name. There's a really interesting mechanic in it where I don't know how much this is going to show up throughout the rest of the game, but to become the captain in the first place after the other captain fucks off wherever he's gone, you have to get voted to be the captain by the rest of the crew. Right. And there are like there are sort of like individual leaders within the crew who like have a bunch of people that are loyal to them, and so you're managing your relationships with those people, whilst also managing like a very scarce amount of resources. Because if you piss off too many people, like you may just lose power altogether, and it's a game that you can fail and lose and need to start over. And so like Frostpunk-esque, but much more narrative based and much more about like a crew of people that you start to care about and like. I really recommend it. I can't believe it's usually when you hear of like YouTubers gaming YouTubers who've had lots of strong opinions about games for a long time. Like I've heard this man talk about failings at Blizzard for years, and then often when those people in those positions then try and do it themselves, like it becomes apparent that like those skills aren't always that transferable. Fair play to the guy and the team that he's created. Like really, really impressive first game. I would recommend The Pale Beyond.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah,
I love the art style.
It is Patreon payday in 2 days, so I'll
oh nice.
definitely have a look.
It's £15 and it's they got Mac version as well. James, this sounds right up your street.
It does look like the kind of thing that I would definitely like to play.
Cool. Yeah, I would. What did you guys think of like Frostpunk? Did any of you play that?
I fucking love Frostpunk.
Yeah, I played a bit of it. It was
So it's got a similar thing where like heat is really important. Like if you don't manage your to keep everyone alive, you need to keep burning things. Is like a core mechanic in the game, which Frostpunk is obviously built around. So yeah, has a bunch of that stuff.
Burning the people that won't vote.
I was going to say, I assume you can make questionable decisions.
Yeah, I don't know. Most like I'm burning a lot of animals at the moment. So that's my main thing. But like they're not
alive.
Like, don't click that one.
Sorry, what's wrong with Chris Pratt? Have we got Chris Pratt here?
It's mostly like penguins and seals, like not like.
Okay.
Oh, that's
like
right.
yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. Like those animals aren't as important. I knew it. But yeah.
No, I think we all know on this podcast that I rate the penguin. I think the penguin is up there for me. They're funny little fuckers, aren't they?
Lots of blubber and
of course,
that's what you're after. Yeah.
All right, let's not shame them.
No, I'm saying it's good.
We've all been in lockdown. It's been a difficult few years, right? How long can I keep that going for? As for lockdown, wait, David, I've not been in lockdown for over a year now. It's still lockdown.
The trauma lives on. No, it sounds really good. I'm excited to play it for sure.
I mean, we are running long this week, so should we just drop everything and go to PSVR2?
Probably should. I mean, my only other game is well, I was inspired to play it because of the PSVR2 launch. So James, you go ahead and I'll chip in.
So I can't talk about Kirby. Is that not allowed now?
No, I don't care about Kirby. We'll
James,
talk about that
you're
next
the
week.
first one to start sulking when it's been a long show. So
yeah,
leave the decision to you, mate.
I really like. I think Kirby's really good, and I'm just.
Okay,
I had a brilliant weekend with it with Asher. It was great. We had a really good weekend playing it. It's
cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Because let's get to PSVR2. New hardware, James.
Well, hang on. I mean, let's go from the beginning here.
No, we don't have to do that.
It arrived, did it?
It did, yeah.
You got through customs.
There was no issues. There was no problems.
No hidden charges. No jail time.
What did Chen say? What did she say? Was she pissed off?
No, she wasn't. She was just like, there it is, and that was it.
Really?
I mean, that's not the warmest.
And then what did you do? Did you scurry over? And then put it onto your head and then scurry back into the corner of your room? Is that how it goes down?
No, I was watching football at the time, so it was I wasn't.
You're such an 80s dad. It's unbelievable. I was watching football at the time, and my wife came in from a different country to collect my. Do you know what I mean? What's the matter with you?
No,
come on then. So.
As in, like, I didn't set it up straight away because I wanted to finish watching the match. You know.
Let's start. All right. Let's start with the hardware. What is it like? What's the helmet like? Is it heavy? Is it what's the deal?
I mean, yeah, the hardware is very nice. I would say actually, it is extremely light and very comfortable. And one of the things that I've liked about it the most is the setup. Was really significantly better than it was on the PSVR, like the original one, especially like the tracking and everything. Because one of the things,
worse, could it?
Yeah, exactly. Because you see, I a lot of VR games that I played in the past, I like to play like just sitting down or whatever, and doing that on the PSVR, the original one was always a hassle because it was using the camera, like the PlayStation camera or whatever to track where you were and everything. With this, it's got this really great thing where you just sit down anywhere and then just say, I'm sitting down. And then it just creates like the play space just around you. And then that's it. And then you're just fine. I know the Quest does. Look,
yeah.
We don't want to hear about how the Quest already does all of that.
I'm just saying, don't like present that as if it's like new tech.
No, I'm not. How am I presenting that as new tech? I'm saying that it's new for PlayStation VR. Like this is not how the original one works, right? This is. I mean, look.
For the sake of Chris Bratt on the show, Sean is a big Quest fan, and James is trying to justify a very expensive purchase at the moment. So this is getting quite interesting.
Some tensions.
This is the other thing, right? Is because I know that pretty much anything I say when I talk about this is going to be you and Sean just saying, "Oh, you're just justifying your purchase. You just justifying your purchase."
Don't go in with like, and guess what else Sony have invented?
He didn't say that. At no point did he say that, Sean. I'm going to have to step in.
We got a mediator now. We got a mediator. Chris Bratt only works on facts, mate. Past him today. Go on, let's go.
Yeah, so... Well, I mean, I don't know what to say now. I mean, what's the point? It's like, oh yeah, the Quest already does all of this, only it looks shit. It's you know.
No, we got so the things I want to hear about. I mean,
yeah,
I assume it's just way more comfortable than the Quest, right? Because it doesn't have the weight of basically an Android computer in it.
That is a killer. That is a killer with the Quest. I mean, we were playing. We got back into. I mean, we did a stream of Walkabout. Mini golf this week, but I also played it again with a friend of mine a couple of days later, and it really is. You could do one round of golf because
I can't remember because I genuinely don't have that. Like certainly the Quest 2 could be lighter. I'm not saying it's fine.
Right.
It hasn't caused me any discomfort, and I can't remember if it's any lighter than the Quest 1.
It's not that it's discomfort, really.
Maybe I've just got a really tough neck.
Yeah, maybe I'm just really strong in the neck area.
But it's still really obvious that you're wearing it. Like when you're wearing it.
Yeah. And I think, but then I also, when I was playing Walkabout, I was kind of like, but at the same time, I'm not worrying about turning around on the spot. Like, because you do that quite a lot when playing that game, because you turn to face the ball, and all right, you can turn using the sticks, but you kind of forget to do that sometimes. And having a cable there also makes me think, surely that's just going to wrap around your neck at some point.
But it hasn't, because I've been playing loads of games where you do that, and the cable is really long, and it's also like quite thin. Like it's not like a massive long cable.
How does it avoid that? Because it doesn't matter how long or thin it is. If you turn around 360 degrees on the spot, it's going to wrap around you.
I know, but I don't generally turn around 360 degrees. Like I don't generally do that when I'm playing VR games anyway, because I often use the sticks to adjust where I am. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like you can do that with Walkabout, but the amount of times you just naturally, because you're standing there and the ball's over there, you do turn. You make those little adjustments.
You can totally do that.
You take your headset off after a round of golf, and you're like, I'm in a completely different part of the fucking room.
This is what happened to me yesterday, because I was playing Resident Evil Village, like because I put that on and thought I'd give that a go, and I played it like standing up. It does the whole like room space thing where you can create like your play area and all that kind of stuff. And I was
that, right? PSVR.
Oh yeah. It was. I mean, I've never seen that before in a VR headset. You know, it's before, but no. I mean, when I took the headset off, I was like facing completely different direction, I was in a different part of the room to when I started. But yeah, I didn't notice anything with the cable, honestly. Like, I mean, maybe if you're spinning round like on the spot, then yeah, that's going to happen. But I think if you're just walking around a bit, it's fine. I didn't really notice it. It's cool. Yeah. But I mean, the fact that it is light is quite nice though, because you do kind of forget you're wearing it, which is quite nice. It's,
does it vibrate? Does the actual headset?
Yes, it's got and that doesn't it? What are they like? Because I mean, on the surface of it, that sounds awful, but it can't be, right? They wouldn't put it in if it was bad. Like.
It is actually. I mean, that's one of the other things I was going to say that I have found to be very effective actually when you're playing it is like the haptic feedback you get from like just like in Horizon, like when you look up and there's like something swooping over you, and there'll be like a slight vibration as it flies over you, and it gives you something of like this does feel like you're more in this world than you would have done without it.
I don't like that though. I don't want
you've never experienced
over
it.
My fucking head and vibrating on my head. I don't like. Just calm down. I said that's the one thing with VR. I love VR when it's not things jumping into your face. Like it does my nuts.
It's not doing that. It's like there's huge like.
You just said
massive...
something swooped over your head and
like a plane.
It swoops over my head, but it's not into
like
my face. There's a difference,
Okay. Why are you shaking your head? It's only my opinion, mate. We've all got opinions, mate. They're all valid.
Getting opinions based on no experience whatsoever.
All right. Go on in.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I have had a bit of trouble with is the controllers, because the controllers are great. Like they're better than, I mean, obviously they're better than the original PSVR ones, which were
technically there weren't any.
They weren't any.
They
weren't that good. But the problem I have with it is trying to you can use the pass through mode where you like press the button and then it switches to like cameras, you can see everything, that's fine. Then you can like pick up the controllers, but I don't find the controllers very easy to pick up with just by like feeling for them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like like when you pick up like the Quest controllers, they're actually they're quite easy to pick up and pick them up correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with these ones, I still haven't quite figured it out, and it's a bit.
I am conscious that you are the only person that I know that put AirPods in the wrong ears.
That's true.
So I'm kind of.
That is true.
I'm wondering whether it's user error on that front, but
it almost.
But they look
is.
weird though, don't they? They're not. Yeah, they don't look. If you were to show me the controllers, I wouldn't know which one was the left and right just by looking at
But they are. I mean, when you're using them, again, really like comfortable. Feel really nice. They're like the DualSense. Controller. But then one of the things I was a bit disappointed with was that, like, if you play like GT7, you still have to use DualSense for that. Like, that doesn't support the new controllers, so you still have to use that, which is fine. It's kind of okay. But there's some weird things with that game as well, like the fact that you can't.
Well, let's get on to the
position.
games then.
Okay, so I mean, of the games that I played, I mean, this is like really surface stuff because I only got it like yesterday, and I've only played yesterday evening. I've not played like a huge amount of loads of things, but. From initial impressions, I mean, obviously Horizon does look absolutely stunning, and I mean, I'm not that far in, but the combat I found really difficult, honestly, because like all VR games, they always do that thing where it's like, okay, you've got to go and lift this up from your back so you can pick up like your gun and all that. Then I mean, like Resident Evil Village was like this, where it's like if you wanted to get a torch out, you have to like pull your jacket back and then like lift in to get it, and it's like when stuff is coming at you, it's like if you're playing that on a controller with buttons, that stuff's pretty quick and like pretty easy to do. But if you're actually physically doing it, you realise that you would be dead, like in most of those situations, because I'm nowhere near quick enough to do any of this stuff. So that feels a bit odd. And but the climbing is also is great. And I think because of the fact that it doesn't have the problems with the tracking that the original one did. Doing stuff like the rock climbing and stuff like that it feels much more satisfying to do, and I didn't find that it was going all over the place, and also I mean the eye tracking as well is quite impressive. Especially for like with what was it with Res. I played like a bit of Res, and it's like you literally just like look where you want to go, and it's like it's totally like tracking where you want to where you're going.
I sort of love that. Res is still like when new VR hardware comes out, it's like but what's Res like on it? Like, that's still the benchmark.
Well,
I love it.
It was that Res and Tetris Effects. Obviously, I'll put both of those on, and it's still an amazing experience. Playing that, and it looks better and all that kind of stuff. But so Horizons is pretty. I mean, I'm not far in, but it seems interesting, and I'll go back to that. Kayak VR, you've played this, haven't you, Sean? As well,
a little bit, because it's one I've had my eye on it because it's on PC as well, so I'm playing it on the Quest through Airlink. And I think it's been out for a few months, but they obviously renewed interest in it because it's come out on PSVR2. I've only played like maybe 20-30 minutes of it. I mean, I'm dreadful at it. But it's one of those, isn't it, where it's just like, look, it's this activity created in VR, and that's enough. As far as I can tell.
What's like the fail state in that? Is it that you'll get swept
there
into an obstacle or something, or
really.
It's just
you can do races,
Yeah.
If you want, or you can just sail about.
That's great. I mean, I feel like that's what the kayak experience should be. Just have a putter around.
Yeah. And you're sort of rowing around, and then you're like, oh, there's a bit of wood floating. I wonder if I poke it, it bobs around in the water. That's perfect.
Nice.
And and again looks amazing. Like looks absolutely stunning. It's probably the best looking of all the things that I played on it. Like because it just like the water.
Well, even better than the Horizon.
I'd say so. Yeah, it's really impressive.
Not a bad workout either if you really go for it.
No, although Chen was really worried because she thought I was going to break the chair I was sitting on. Because I was sitting on one of those chairs, the ones that like sort of like sit back a bit, and it's like, and it was like she was like, James, you got to stop doing that because it was like because I was like going from side to side, like doing the thing.
Wait, you let other people perceive you whilst you're in.
I've got no
Kayak
choice.
VR.
I've got no choice, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it because the other thing is that whenever I use VR, like my son comes in and just starts dancing around me because he just thinks it's really funny.
That is really funny.
What if you just hit him like by accident? That's what I'm worried.
Well, this was the other thing. Like last night when I was playing, like
I knocked him out.
Every night, everyone had gone to bed. Like, so I was like, okay, I'm going to play some Resident Evil like tonight. And so I, set up the place, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, the whole thing's completely dark, and I'm just thinking, if anyone comes into this room and touches me while I'm playing,
my
god, yeah, that would.
I can't handle that. It's I had to stop because of that because it was a bit much. But I mean, the other thing I played was Drums Rock. That's another one I've downloaded the demo for.
The old Revy drums here.
And it's supposed to be like sort of, I guess, like Rock Band or whatever like that. But I mean, there's no licensed songs, which is a bit of a shame because they're all not that great. And also,
God, I'd love to hear what songs are in that. Like
I Love Rock and Roll was the first one, and it's
That's a licensed song, isn't it?
Yeah. No, as in like it's not.
They've done covers.
It's covers.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you people, do you remember the first Guitar Hero was like that? Believe it or not, the covers. It was so weird. Yeah. I remember because I had No One Knows on it, and I was like, everyone was like, "No, it sounds like No One Knows," and I'm like, "No, it doesn't. I'm a real fan. This does not sound like it." So. Fun.
That was interesting, and I played some Zombieland as well.
Not allowed to talk about it.
You can't assess.
We are not allowed to talk about Zombieland Headshot Fever. Yeah. Did you see the little cheeky? All I'll say is watch the PSVR launch trailer for that game. There might be a little nod towards something in that if you look very carefully. Probably not allowed to say that, am I?
No. And then the other thing which I spent probably the most time on actually was No Man's Sky.
Oh yeah, because this has had like a bunch of improvements to the VR stuff across the board, hasn't it? But particularly with PSVR2.
That's the one with all the planets, isn't it? With the planets in it.
And there's the spaceships,
the planets and the spaceships.
The flying. There's shooting. It's a bit of shooting.
Yeah. What's that? So how does that work? Is that a completely separate mode, or do you just play No Man's Sky but in VR?
You play No Man's Sky in first person as if you're there, and it's I mean, I tried it on the PSVR, like the original version, like a long time ago when it first came out, and it made me feel sick.
Wasn't great, was it? On the PS4, it was.
It looked awful.
The changes to the graphics were bad.
That game was never a looker either. So
so it was. Like the movement was really weird as well, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I felt very sick. I think I streamed it, didn't I? I streamed a bit of that.
Yeah.
But it was it was an interesting proof of concept, but very much like, well, if you've already bought the game, this VR stuff is quite cool, but probably no one was buying it as a VR game. Yeah. Whereas this sounds more substantial now. Like,
this, I think you totally could. You could just play this in VR now. And that's probably what I would do because it was, especially because it was so much higher res than it was on the PSVR.
How much is it on Steam now?
Sean, you're not playing that game again. We've been through this.
I might.
It's enough now.
For 20 minutes.
There's been a lot of changes to it.
$24.99.
Yeah. Well, it's reasonable. Okay.
But then also
let's look at
Resident Evil Village.
Keys. See if it's sorry, go on.
So I played a bit of Resident Evil Village as well, which I played that and finished it on the PS5 when it first came out, and I was at no point was I scared playing that game. Whereas this time when I played it, it's horrific. It really is. Like if you play it in VR, it's horrible.
Please stream it. Can you please stream it?
Well, I'm gonna. I don't know if I can honestly.
Please, come on. It'd be so good.
We need to find out how all that stuff works, right? Because I know with the original PSVR, there was all the text to speech and stuff like that.
It has all that.
Works quite. Okay, so that's all.
Yes, yeah.
And you do it Elgato now, can't he?
No, it would be easier just to output it, I think, from this. But it's
okay.
It was. I mean, like I don't generally get scared by games like very much.
No. You're a big man. Yeah, you're a big boy.
Bizarrely iron-willed.
But this was. I had to stop. Like honestly, because I was like, I don't think I can do this because again, it looks so good, so like sort of high resolution as well, and it's just looked incredible. I don't. I mean,
extreme.
I'm waiting for Resident Evil 4 to come out because that's got the VR mode as well.
Yeah, but that's not as good, is it? That's not. Resident Evil 4 is not a scary thing, is it?
It's pretty. I mean, playing the original, the VR version of the original Resi 4 on the Quest, it's weird how much spookier it is, like in first person. Just like the village in the opening when there's just like fucking flies everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah, this whole place stinks of cow shit, doesn't it?
It's the scent that scares you more than the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's what happened with this. Like, I was walking through, like you're walking through like these like forest, and it's like pitch black. You know, walking through there, and there's like these crows hanging like from trees that are on like ropes. The haptic feedback, like I hit one with my head, and the haptic feedback went off.
Oh no!
Oh my god! What? No.
You just like, I'm alright with that.
Yeah.
It's yes.
Yeah, the next thing is a little. Honestly, the next thing is gonna be a little robot coming out the side of a helmet and then like tapping you on the shoulder, and then that's where you know what I mean.
Be all right.
I don't want it to feel like I'm there. I don't want that. All right. Sorry.
Well, no, because I'm the same. Like when I first tried the Quest, and I was like, you know, these sort of built-in speakers are not as good as headphones, but I quite like knowing that if someone did walk in the room, I would hear them.
You knew that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
With this, you're not going to, because you've got like the earplugs in, and just like it's completely dark because the shielding around the side is like really like very good, so you can't see any sort of light really that's going on. So it's you feel really like you're in there, which is a bit horrible.
That was an interesting development because you said something about the Quest, Sean, that you liked there, and then James said the opposite for the PlayStation one, that he preferred.
Yeah.
It's
I didn't. I think you'll notice there, David. I didn't actually say I preferred that. I just pointed out a difference.
Just
you know,
pointed out a difference, and you said it was really good. It's just a bit petty, isn't it? It's,
sniping.
Can I just be clear? You're both being petty. was my angle there, not that James was. So James, is that it? What was there any other games you want to talk about before?
Only Gran Turismo 7, which was obviously. That's quite an experience.
Apparently, that's
everyone's saying it's
incredible.
Brilliant, right?
Like, because obviously we've said on the show, like, oh yeah, it'll probably be good, but who's going to play hours of Gran Turismo in VR? Apparently, loads of people are. Apparently, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It would. I mean, after playing it a bit, it would be my preferred way of playing it now because and that's the thing with this whole thing is that. Okay, it's really expensive. I'm not going to justify how expensive it is because it is ridiculously expensive, but. I would say that if this is, I'm hoping that what this is going to offer is it's going to offer more stuff like Gran Turismo 7, for example, where they're just going to add VR features into stuff that's like, bigger releases and things. And then that, for me, that would maybe make it worth it because it's really, it's really quite impressive, some of this stuff. Like just how good things look. The haptic stuff is also really impressive as well. But
well, this is it. This brings me to my final question. What would you say? You're selling it. Right. What would you say is? How do you justify that extra price? Like, if you're looking at the Quest and you're looking at PSVR2, how are you saying go for the Quest? Go for the PSVR2 over the Quest. What does it do that makes it worth the extra money?
Well, okay, it's a difficult question because because the thing is at the moment I probably wouldn't go for it because I'd be thinking, what's the Quest 3 going to be like when that comes out?
That's the difficulty, isn't it? Is that PSVR 2 is not going up against the Quest 2; it's going up against the Quest 3, but we don't know what that is, or we don't know it's coming out this year. I don't think officially, but we're just assuming. But what I would say that it has that the Quest won't have almost certainly is all like the first party Sony stuff potentially, or these bigger budget releases if they happen, and that depends. That's a really big if as to whether they actually go ahead and they still release stuff of the quality of things like Horizon and things like that are still going to come to it. But as I said, even if it's just add-ons for existing games, that'll be enough for me, I think, because this is such a nicer way compared with the original. I'm not comparing this to Quest here. I'm comparing this with the original one. That it's such a nicer way of playing stuff that, I still. But as I said, at the price that it is, I still think it's too much at the moment.
I mean, it looks like they're bringing. I mean, I know we've scoffed at the amount of games that they've brought over from Quest to PSVR, but it does look like they're making the right moves. If you notice, there's a PokerStars VR page now on the PlayStation Store, so that's definitely on its way. Walkabout mini golf.
I was going to say, because there's a ton of stuff with crossplay as well. I mean, Walkabout Mini Golf has always had that and is going to have it on PSVR2. James,
PokerStars will have to have that, yeah.
Can I interest you in a game of Demio? Because that's got crossplay.
Is it a card game?
It's not a card game. It does have
it's the card game.
The thinking man's card game. No, it's the sort of tabletop Dungeons and Dragons style one. We've been playing it again on Quest. It's fucking great. It's really good.
Good luck, James.
I'm just saying, if you get it, you would be more than welcome to play with us. But if you don't get it, I'll assume
I
you
just
don't
get
like
visions
us.
of you walking up to kids in the playground, Sean, at school. Congratulations, you have been selected to join our Dungeons and Dragons evening.
I'm in like full costume, yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Squire.
I mean, Sean, would there be mileage in a stream of you trying to teach this game to me?
I mean, it depends how receptive you're actually going to be, James.
Not very.
I think there's mileage either way. There's mileage either way with that.
Okay, right. I mean, we're really running over. Should we just do maybe a couple of short questions?
It's only 2 hours.
I mean, I'm
we are.
fucking knackered, mate.
Right, okay.
I'm so tired. What we got? Let's do a couple of questions and then we'll close this one out.
Joe in Seattle says, "Hey guys, is AI real? Like, is the AI stuff out there now actually artificial intelligence, or have the creators of predictive text software just been successful in marketing their products as AI? This is a semantic distinction, obviously, but the often very credulous coverage of AI is fascinating to me. Calling software that generates strings of words in elaborate patterns to mimic human expression intelligent seems like a leap. That's not to say predictive text isn't powerful and potentially real bad, but it's interesting that it's been so successfully conflated with her-style AI already. Then again, if I had access to that Bing chatbot that was threatening to steal nuclear codes, I'm sure I'd be freaked out too. Thanks for the pods. You guys are killing it. Cheers, Joe."
It's getting weird though, right? It is getting weird now. Is that to that point now?
But like Joe makes an interesting point. Is what we are currently calling AI is just another step closer to this illusion of it being like autonomous or capable of like creative, spontaneous thought, right?
Sean, are you comparing this to that time when they started releasing those things that were called hoverboards that weren't actually hoverboards?
Don't even hover. Yeah.
It feels like the language around it is like, I don't know. It reminds me of, well, we've just seen so much of it, from like blockchains to NFTs to the metaverse to this, where with like all of those things to different degrees, there's like interesting technology like happening, and some people working on some interesting things. I'm wary of being next to the word blockchain and interesting, but like there's, particularly with the metaverse like concept, I think that you can imagine there's lots of interesting work being done, and that it is a really exciting playing field. However, it also just feels like it's something that ends up being inserted into every single investor's call for a tech company whose stock price has dropped by 40% since the pandemic. And so the fatigue is already setting in for that term, which is crazy, because I didn't think I'd reached the point where like AI was actually something we were talking about in like with some kind of real world proof of concepts, and I'm already fatigued on it. That isn't the future I saw for myself when I was a teenager, imagining like the future of the world.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's like, when we were younger, no one ever sat us down and said, look, all the stuff you've read about in science fiction stuff probably will come true, but it'll all be controlled by the worst people you can imagine. So discipline.
But how power works.
But also like specifically the thing that Joe from Seattle there's like referencing, that just like the way it's like weaved into the marketing of it, where like how early we're using it, that kind of language to describe something in a much more like rudimentary state. I don't know. I'm mad that I'm so like completely apathetic about it right now. It doesn't feel right.
100%. I mean, at least like I think there's a distinction to be drawn between like ChatGPT and like AI art, right? I think arguably ChatGPT has lots of legitimate, interesting uses, whereas AI art just fundamentally I can't get behind because of the it's theft essentially. But it's it always comes back to it's like it feels like we're now coming up with so many things, and I'm just saying like yes, but what problem does this solve? How's this actually improving things other than it's cool? Can I just say James has deleted a question I really wanted him to answer, and he's definitely just deleted it because it's aimed at him.
Yeah.
Foxy moron, I'm sorry. Right, what else we got?
Cool.
Charlie Chester says, hello guys, absolutely love that. Sorry, I've remembered Mara's wearing a collar at the moment, and I remembered why she doesn't normally wear a collar, because she scratches her neck and it's really fucking loud on these recordings. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mara. Charlie Chester says, hello guys, absolutely love the show. Thank you for all the fantastic content. I've recently been lucky enough to buy my first house. I'm now starting to receive these worrying letters through the letterbox that are constantly asking me for money. At first I dismissed them as junk mail, but upon further inspection they appear to be legitimate invoices for services I've availed myself of. I didn't sign up for this when I became an adult. I was wondering, what were the hardest things you guys found out about life when you finally became adults? And they say, please refrain from penis
easy
jokes.
for me.
Go on.
No one fucking knows what they're doing. No one. When you're a kid, you look at adults, you go, you understand everything and how everything works. And then you get there and you're like, no, we don't.
Nope.
No, we don't. We are
Nobody
literally just winging it.
Yeah, like there will never be that light bulb moment where you're like, oh, I am a grown-up now. You will basically just always feel like yourself.
Yep. I've opened the car bonnet and looked at it as if I don't know what I'm looking at.
You open the car bonnet and you go, oh, good, they've put special labels on the 3 things I'm capable of dealing with.
Yeah. I still wouldn't know how to jumpstart a car. But then nor did my parents until someone showed them. Do you know what I mean? Like, until they needed it. It's honestly, no one knows what they're doing. We're all bumbling about the place, and that makes things even more scary, if I'm honest with you.
Yep.
Because I thought that there was some sort of logic and way of doing things, and it turns out we get here and there fucking ain't.
Pretty much. I mean, what else? There must be more than that. I mean, it's too similar to Charlie Chester's, but like I remember like realizing that like council tax was my problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'd been like, because obviously when like if you move out as a student, you don't have to pay council tax, and then suddenly one day it's like, oh well, I've finished uni now, so now I do
forever.
Yeah. And because you sort of, I mean, it's a stupid way of thinking, but you're just like, yeah, but I don't get anything for that. You do. You get loads of stuff.
What did the local council ever do for you?
Yeah, nothing. Chucking rubbish out my window.
Did you get that moment when you first lived on your own, right? When you first moved out the family home, you lived on your own. Did you get that moment where you were like, you spilt something and you go, oh, I'll just get the kitchen. We've got no kitchen roll. What? The kitchen roll's always in the kitchen. I don't know what and a bulb goes, and you're like, do we buy bulbs? Is that not just something that lives in drawers? I don't know. Yeah, it's that sort of wake up call.
I might have said before, but I remember when we bought this place and I turned the boiler on for the first time. I remember thinking like, and if that ever goes off, that's an issue now, and it's I have to sort that out.
That's pretty much what the Pale Beyond that I was talking about earlier. That's the game. Yeah. If the boiler ever goes off, that's my issue. You're like done. I've got to like. It used to be. Now it's my problem.
That sounds horrific to deal with in a video game. To be quite honest with you, James, have you got an answer for this one?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
No, I've been thinking about it as you've been talking, and I can't really think of anything.
Still nothing. He's tried his best.
No.
And just he's.
You can't have a go at me because I really gave it a go.
I did really try and think of something, but I couldn't think of anything.
Think about it for the last 30 seconds. And...
So good to have you on the show, mate.
I mean, I should say, like, I think the other side of this is that, like, you sort of think, like, oh, when I'm a grown-up and I have to have a job, I won't get to do, like, cool, fun stuff anymore. Whereas actually, Like, yeah, you have less free time, but you also just get better at your hobbies and stuff, and so that time can become more meaningful. Like,
yeah.
But this is the thing I was thinking. It's just like my whole life I've been worried about like doing things and shit that's got to be done and everything. It's just changed some of those things, but nothing else has changed. It's still.
I see, because I used to just be like way too laid back about everything. And I don't know what changed. Probably becoming a dad. Because now I'm just permanently anxious about everything. Yeah, it's weird.
All right.
So yeah, life gets worse
And more anxious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was the last question of the list, wasn't it? What a place to end.
Well, it wouldn't have been the
Well,
last
it wasn't,
question
but then
if James hadn't
just
deleted
James
one.
went on a fucking deleting spree.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we need to start doing that with his news, I think, Sean, see how he likes it.
Yeah.
You already
really
do.
pissed.
No, we don't. Not while you.
Not
curating
while I'm
it.
talking. That's
No.
true. But
Yeah. Okay. Socials, Sean. No, James. Socials.
okay.
This is how it's done, Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
so
the
pros
expert.
do it.
This is
I'm
why he's on the show. Here we go. Socials, James.
Okay, so Thursday, Sean, are you doing a stream on Thursday?
I swear to God,
Nice.
unless Sony announce another stream, yes, I'm gonna do Echoes the Ring. I promise. I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then Friday, I'm going to do Hitman. So I'm going to be continuing my World of Assassination, and that'll be fun because that was good. I enjoyed that last week.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Did you do it properly this time?
I did. I
you?
actually did do it
Okay,
properly.
okay.
I already murdered a few people,
Okay.
but that was because witnesses. So it
It's
was
their fault, really, isn't it? It's
yeah. One of them was definitely a bad
thanks,
guy as well.
Okay.
Like one of them was definitely.
Well, that's
bad.
all right
There
then.
you go.
He was an elite soldier. He's probably done all sorts, and so I thought it was.
Maybe just trying to feed his family, James. Do you ever think about that?
It's dictatorship. This, Anyway. So do I? I don't have still that Twitch Prime stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's part of socials.
That's what I mean. I'm waiting for it. I've been told to expect great things from
This is it. This is it. This is
From-
as good as it gets.
quote unquote the socials.
Go on.
Okay, so I have to do the Twitch Prime thing.
Yes.
Fucking, this is the second time you've asked in 5 seconds.
All right. Okay. If you've got if you've got Amazon Prime, then you've got Twitch Prime. Then you can link those up and you can subscribe to our channel, and that would be nice. Thank you.
It's a great way to support the show. You've probably already got Amazon Prime already. You're only taking money from Jeff Bezos and giving it to these lovely lads. Like, come on, easy. If you're on Twitch right now, you're already there. Just a couple of buttons.
Exactly.
There you
Yeah,
go.
come
What
on,
Chris just
yes,
said.
Chris.
Let's see what he just said.
Yeah, what's our Twitch? What's our Twitch channel though, James? That's
It's twitch.tv/TCGSco.
Hey.
That's
nice.
what it is.
There you
Yeah.
well done.
And then also, is the Patreon bonus show out this week?
No, it's just
No,
not been updated.
Matt's away, so
that was-
the doc hasn't been updated properly.
Have you noticed how many unread emails we got in the Gmail account? Short, it's like Matt is definitely on holiday. Good for him.
Okay. We've also got a Patreon. We'd love it if you could support us. If you go to patreon.com/TCGSco, you can find the details about that there. Is it not? Is it
just
TCGS?
patreon.com/TCGS, isn't it?
That's not my fault. That's not my fault if Matt hasn't got them all aligned. That's not my fault. And
Okay.
anyway, and then for anything else, go to TCGSco for the website.
.co.
.co.
Yeah, .co. Yeah.
Seamless
Yeah, it's
socials
amazing,
from
isn't
start
it?
to finish. That
Yeah.
was wonderful.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us this week. We really do appreciate it. It's been a buzz having you on.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you and what you do?
Like I said, the easiest place to do that is probably just our YouTube channel, youtube.com/people make games. It's where all our videos go until Google kicks us off at some point and we have to find different jobs. Other than that, I'm on Twitter at Chris Bratt, which is just my name, not Pratt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We should
Right.
say you
Shame.
are also on
Be loaded.
Patreon. You're one of the few I am actually subscribed to.
Oh, thank you. Thank
If
you
you're
so much.
listening to this,
Quite an honour.
Yeah. So that and Kane and Rince. So it's not the best company to be in, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, if you're not support. If you're not giving Chris money, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself.
James, I don't know. Everyone believes James in this, and I feel like I've picked it up too much. I'm sorry. James,
it's addictive,
you're absolutely lovely.
It's fucking addictive. We will catch you next week for more gaming chit chat. Thank you so much for living it. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you in 3.